You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, what is happening? Happy Wednesday. I hope everybody is doing great. We got a great show ahead for you. It kind of took a different turn just the last couple of minutes. So anyways, I want to say hi to everybody on the chat. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share this content. I want to say hi to everybody over there as far as Lori Matthews, Lynn Pell, Debbie Blue, Oscar Leroy, Texas Motherbird, Obscure Moderator. I also want to thank all of our moderators. Thank you guys for what you do. You definitely keep the chat civilized and keep everything organized and just boot the bots and the trolls nonstop, which I really, really appreciate. I saw a comment. I'm trying to find it real quick. Talking about, oh my God, did you see that the bullet doesn't match? And we're going to talk about that for sure. I was actually on Alex Jones today with Nate from Valhalla VFT. We're going to talk about some of those things and correct the record on some of the things discussed, because I got thrown some curveballs on there that I knew weren't true, but I didn't want to get over my skis, and I'm not going to say anything that I'm not 100% sure on. And so anyways, we're going to correct the record. Well, I also want to welcome Jen, the producer's back on because she's feeling better. We also have Green Beret nap time, and he was just here, and now the devices are not connected. I'm sure he'll be right back. Things happen. Jen, how you been doing? Everybody's been praying for you. We've been worried about you. I know you haven't been feeling good. Give us an update.
I'm doing pretty good. I only have like 2 more little shards to pass and everything will be great after that. But they do have me on some fine pain medicine, so I am grateful to the doctors. And I'm even more grateful that today is pretty special. We had Artemis 2 take off and didn't explode the last 2 times I watched NASA throw up a space expedition. Both of them blew up in was it, 86?
There was no people on those ones, just to clarify, right?
Well, no, the one in 86 it did. No, both of them. 2003 and 2003 and 86. 1986.
The Challenger explosion.
Both of those. Yeah.
I don't know, but where
the one today did not explode. Thank you, Jesus.
I don't know how it was just like a day or two ago. I was actually rewatching the Challenger. I don't know if there was an article on it, but I watched the whole video, and I just remember sitting in front of my grandmother's console TV and watching that live. I was 5 or 6. So anyways, I'll never forget that day for sure. Yeah. That's right there with not quite 9/11, but like I said, it was a forever memory, a core memory, as they would say it. All right, without further ado, though, because I know he has a lot to add to this conversation, we're going to go ahead and bring on Green Beret nap time. Our good friend Chase. Make sure you guys go follow him down in the description below. Of course, all of our links. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. But Chase, welcome to the show, man. And if you will, take a minute and just tell everybody about you for those that aren't following you, so that they can make sure they know who you are when they do go follow you right now. Everybody go do that right now. Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, Gary, thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure to come on here and chat with like-minded people who are just have a sense in their brain, to understand what's real and what's not real in this crazy world. So just a little bit about me for those that don't know. I was 18 Delta for 13, almost 14 years. Got out in 23. The last thing I did in the Army, though, was I worked for a higher level planning, strategic level planning course. It was basically kind of like ILE, but for SOF, for Special Operations Forces, and how to plan theater level operations through operational design. And so in that course, I learned a lot about the information operation game, about how it ties into dime fill and the whole strategic picture, and worked with a retired full bird and a retired lieutenant colonel that were both probably two of the smartest dudes I've ever met, and just learned so much about how the world actually works. And so now my account's just here to call out the propaganda, call out what's obviously untrue or what's being pushed as a narrative, and just kind of give that feedback here as we move along.
Yeah, man, it's so important. And like you said at the beginning of this, like I am now at a point that when I just talk to rational, sensible people, it is such a breath of fresh air and so refreshing that it's not funny. So we appreciate you. And folks, I think tonight, matter of fact, I'm just going to state it. Tonight at 9:30 p.m., we are going to do a space somewhere in here, maybe at one point while Chase is talking. I'm going to go ahead and create that space so it's up, it's ready to go. And Chase, if you would like to, we'd love you to join us. Maybe we can carry on this conversation. I know you got kids and things like that, so if you can, I get it, but we'd love to have you. So really the first thing I want to get into, speaking of correcting the record and making sure things are right. The first thing I want to talk about is today I was on Alex Jones and I was talking with Nate from VFT. And we started talking and he said, no, Gary, the sheriff, who's Nate, I think his name is Nate. I want to say Dudley. I don't think that's correct. But anyways, I'll pull it up here in just a second. He said the sheriff came out and said that the friend of the family is the one that contacted, because I was actually reading the charging documents. And I was reading the charging documents and he said, no, that's not what happened, Gary. What happened was the friend of the family recognized Tyler Robinson and he actually contacted the Robinsons and told them they had to turn him in. And I couldn't remember that press conference exactly at the time. And I'm like, dude, I don't think that's what happened. But he was very confident of it. And again, I'm not going to say something I'm not 100% sure of, get over my skis on that. But I do want to just read real quick what the charging documents say. And then we're actually going to go to that video of the actual press conference, because this is how things get perpetuated, pushed. And then also tonight, I do want to talk with Chase about Iran. But I'm going to read the charging documents real quick, and then we're going to go to the tape and see what the sheriff actually said and compare and contrast what he said versus what the charging document said. So Robinson's mother explained that over the last year, Robinson had become more and more political. We'll skip forward. Robinson's father reported that when the wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle that the police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son, and a whole conversation ensues. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained, there is too much evil and the guy, Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. So anytime that someone says that he didn't admit it to his parents, that's a lie. If I ask Chase, why did you steal my car? And he comes back to me and says, like, Gary, I just liked your car and I needed a ride. All right, he just admitted that he stole my car. So that's just how that goes. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who is a retired deputy sheriff. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents and convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all the evidence. It says some more things. The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. All right, so that's what the charging documents state. Now, what we've heard multiple times is that's not what happened. It was the family friend, former detective is who he is, spotted Robinson, called the Robinsons, and convinced the Robinsons to turn himself in. So let's go and actually see what was actually said, because I had to pull this up and just make sure that I wasn't taking crazy pills, because that's what I thought was happening. So this is the actual news conference of the relevant parts. I edited it down to 1 minute.
He said, "Hey, I know who Charlie Kirk shooter is. I know the family through religious association, and he's in Washington County now.
Chase, is that
and
audio
we're
as low
working
as
on
it's coming
trying to
through
get
on my
him
end?
to come in voluntarily. During that phone call, some information was provided about Tyler.
Chase, can you hear that audio? All right, hold on.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. All right. I don't know what's going on with my audio.
Potentially having some suicidal ideations, was en route to a remote area, Washington County. The parents convinced him not to do that, and conveyed that they would stand by him and help him surrender peacefully. So at that, within the hour, my friend drove Tyler and his parents to my office, where he was greeted by plain.
All right. So first, right there, that's an important part. He drove the entire family. He drove the entire family, the parents and Tyler Robinson, to the sheriff's department. It was his family, his mom and dad, that turned him in. It wasn't the family friend. He just facilitated the whole thing.
Close detectives. So
as a doing something good here.
Yeah, outstanding. He deserves full credit. I think that a lot of it's just the community relations, right? So Tyler's family trusted this individual. They knew he was involved in law enforcement at some point, and enough community involvement there that they trusted that they could go to this individual and he could contact me directly, and that we could facilitate a peaceful, calm, relaxed surrender, put it that way, right?
All right. So there you go. I don't know why it's coming through on my end. Was that audio like really, really low and crappy, Chase? Or could you hear it?
It wasn't bad. I could hear it.
Okay. I don't know what's going on there. But the fact is the parents contacted the police friend, the former law enforcement, the former detective. And like, it's these little things that keep getting pushed around, and you end up like relitigating them every 3 months and going back, and you're trying to keep all this stuff straight in your head, because there's a lot of the stuff that comes out. And so anyways, just so we're clear, people can state whatever they want. And I know Candace has basically regurgitated what Nate relayed to us. But as far as the official record, what is stated by law enforcement and is word for word what's in the charging documents, just so we're clear. All right. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is I actually want to go up here and talk about this article from the Daily Mail that was put out just a couple days ago. And I want you all to take a look at the headline. It says, bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not match the rifle allegedly used by the suspect, Tyler Robinson. New court filings claim. All right, so that's the title. So here's we have three different things going on here. We have the title, or the headline, which is very salacious, and obviously everybody's pushing it everywhere. I'm sure you saw it all over your feed, Chase.
Yeah.
And then you have what's actually said in the article, which is different than the headline, and then you actually have the forensic analysis. So we have the title up there, and then it says the bullet that killed conservative commentator Charlie Kirk may not match the rifle. And it goes on, and what the conclusion actually is that it's inconclusive, which is exactly what we expected going all the way back to September. This is nothing new. We knew that we had an extremely fragmented round, whether it was frangible or not, or some type of frangible round. I knew that it was probably going to be very hard to actually do traditional tooling analysis on it to basically see if it is able to match the lands and grooves of the rifle that he used. Now, I want to take you over here to this Fox News article, because this is the one thing that nobody's reporting. Let me see. I know it's down here. All right, right here. The testing did positively confirm that the spent shell casing found at the scene matched the suspected murder weapon. So we actually have the spent shell casing matching the murder weapon. So basically, anytime that you load a cartridge and the tooling on that, or the contact that it makes with the metal, it actually leaves very specific, just like a fingerprint on the cartridges itself. So they have that, and that clearly matches that, along with everything else. Man, I'm telling you, folks, this is going to be pretty much a slam dunk case. And then the last thing before I bring Chase in here, I want to talk about this. All right, some facts about ballistics being used in murder trials involving firearms. Role of ballistic forensic evidence, including fragmented bullets. Ballistics rarely drives convictions on its own. Studies of gun crimes, including homicides, show that NIBIN ballistic imaging hits linking cases via cartridge cases or bullets. And the examiner comparison contribute to leads in some instances, but rarely result in identification, arrest, charging, or sentencing. In multi-state cities, 65 gun-related violent crimes hit reports rarely contributed to case advancement, partly due to long delays. Fragmentation is especially common with high-velocity rounds. Examiners often report inconclusive results, 20% in comparisons in real casework, higher than controlled testing. Cartridge cases, if recovered, are more reliable. So the more reliable, look at this. Cartridge cases, if recovered, are more reliable for linking to a gun. Even when the bullets are inconclusive or fragmented, prosecutions succeed if other evidence exists. So when you give the totality of the circumstances, you give how much, number one, we have DNA on the rifle, DNA on the trigger, DNA on the screwdriver, DNA on the spent cartridge, DNA on the unspent cartridges, along with everything else. Folks, like for anyone to even state that there isn't evidence or there's not enough evidence to convict Tyler Robinson, to me is just completely, you're detached from reality as far as I'm concerned. Chase, what do you have to add to that?
I mean, I think we're looking at a preponderance of evidence here. I'm not a lawyer, right? You know, we're neither of us are lawyers, but you can understand like the basics of criminal case law and some basic things that they're going to be looking at. And they're not just like the bullet matching 100% based off of, or not matching 100% based off of fragmentation is in no way, it's going to have zero effect on the case. It was literally this was a loaded title that they did an article on, a nothing burger, and then they got a bunch of clicks and a bunch of engagement out of it, and they just fueled the flames for all of these people have been saying that this is some conspiracy. I mean, you have the text messages, right? And to the people that are trying to say that those were fake or they didn't sound like, what does a 21 or 20-year-old sound like texting his gay, trans, furry person? Like, what does that sound like? Because I can't tell you what it sounds like, and literally nothing would surprise me in what they put in a text message together. But so you're saying the FBI or the Utah State Police or whoever actually got that information first, if they lied about that, then they couldn't use it in court, right? Like that would create a mistrial. If they were like, oh, they faked these text messages, not really there, that would come out in discovery, and it would that would be one thing that blows the case up. So they always bring that up. They always bring they never talk about the written note. He left a written note under his keyboard that he was going to go kill Charlie Kirk, and then he went and killed Charlie Kirk. So like a premeditated note, handwritten. What else do you need? So then the Discord chat, right, where he apologized for doing it, and that's probably where the link comes to where that account or two that said something's going to happen to Charlie Kirk. He'd probably been talking to people about this, right? That doesn't make it a conspiracy. That just makes it he was a crazy person that was talking to some other crazy people, right? And this is how indoctrinated people act. Then you have the statements to investigators, the confession, all that kind of stuff. Like there's a preponderance of, there's video of him jumping down from the roof with the rifle. You can see the rifle. He has it, and then he runs off with it. Like, so you have a preponderance of evidence here that states that he did it. Now, is there reason to investigate whether he did it 100% alone? Did he have any help? Was there anyone that was pushing him to act this way? Those things are fine. Let's investigate that. That's fine. But the clear facts state that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and there's nothing else even close to that level of evidence to suggest anything otherwise.
I couldn't agree more. And folks, for everybody that says they can't see the rifle when he's jumping off the roof, here's 4 different images. You can clearly see that we have something rigid underneath the black towel. So, and we've hit this multiple times. This is very clear. He clearly has something going on there. Can I tell you definitively that that's even Tyler Robinson? No. I also can't tell you definitively that's a rifle, but walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Let's just go through the actual evidence that we have right here. So I just had Grok go through and just list the amount of evidence that we actually have. So we have 20,000 electronic files of audio, video, and written documents identified as evidence. Approximately 61,500 pages of documents and images, 31 hours of audio recordings, more than 700 hours of video across 5,000 clips, an additional 12 terabytes of digital data provided on our hard drive received March 12th through 13th. Physical and forensic evidence. The Mauser 98 bolt-action rifle 30-06 with scope recovered from the wooded area on the northeast end of UVU campus. DNA evidence. We have DNA consistent with Robinson found on the rifle trigger and other rifle components, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, the towel used to wrap the rifle, screwdriver recovered from the rooftop, DNA consistent with Robinson on the roof, on the screwdriver. And if you guys want to see a video of that, I will gladly show you that in a second. We have inscriptions, engravings on the cartridges. So besides the inscription and engravings on the cartridges, they also found other cartridges engraved in his apartment and engraving equipment. A shoe footwear impression on the rooftop edge consistent with Converse to Chuck Taylor's, consistent with the shoes that he was actually wearing. Forearm print, palm wrist, and additional footwear impressions from the sniper position. Ballistic and firearms evidence. We have the autopsy bullet fragment, ATF tool marks, analysis inconclusively due to fragmentation on the bullet itself. The shell casing, testing positively confirmed the spent shell casing matched the suspected murder weapon. And then expert context inconclusive bullet results are common with fragmented high velocity. So it's like, it doesn't matter. We have extensive UVU surveillance footage that includes 700 hours of video, digital communications, confession statements. I mean, folks, they're going to have a hard time. Look, I just don't think that there's any chance that he won't end up guilty. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to end up on death row. I think that's what it comes down to. What's your thoughts on that, Chase?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of evidence pointing that this happened. I mean, a lot of things can happen in a courtroom, procedural stuff, the jury, right? I mean, there's a lot of people pushing to taint the jury enough to push for a mistrial on this anyway, which is insane to me. It's like, if justice in the court of law sees that he's guilty of this, and in Utah, I mean, didn't the governor say he wanted to push for the death penalty? I mean, like,
yeah,
they're not going to just, yeah, and so that raises the bar even higher for the amount of proof, of without a reasonable doubt of what they can establish in a court of law. So I don't know why there's so many people that are just like railing against this. We'll get all the answers after the trial is over. We'll know 100%. Once the appeal process is done, which could take even longer. There might be some stuff that they don't release, but they'll release a lot of the stuff, especially because of how high profile this case is. The problem is that everybody just COVID put a damper on everybody, with everyone in authority or all the experts, and now no one's an expert and anyone is an expert, and it gets real confusing on who can actually say something on something else because, well, the experts lied to us before. I get it, man. Life sucks. It's hard to navigate, but at the end of the day, you still have a brain, and you still can look at the reality of a situation and know that Candace Owens probably has no clue what she's actually talking about, or the pizza delivery guy, or any of these other people that watched YouTube and have no real experience with any of this. Like, I mean, I don't know. I was in 18 Delta. I've seen a few gunshot wounds, and guess what? And it's not. And they'll be like, bullets do weird things in bodies, is what you're gonna say. And I'm like, anyone who's ever been around bullets in live bodies, they do weird things in there. And the ballistics, everything that goes along with it, physics, they will follow veins once they get in there sometimes and miss organs. It's insane. Stuff happens. And basing that one thing to debunk the evidence, all the rest of the evidence, is kind of insane to me. That's like the biggest thing here is you found this one little piece that maybe you could is like a subjective thing that you can maybe have an opinion on, but everything else points to him. So like, how do you debunk all of that now? And why are you taking this one tiny little thing and ignoring all the other evidence that speaks the other way?
Well, there's two things I think are real, like, severe logical fallacies in this when it comes to the evidence. Number one, all this evidence is Fed slop. It's all Fed slop.
Right.
If it's incriminating evidence, it's Fed slop. The moment there's some exculpatory evidence by the exact same departments, suddenly it's valid. It's real. And then the other part of this is like, okay, so you're saying that there was this big grand conspiracy and all of this evidence is made up. Well, why didn't they just, if they made up all that other stuff and they've planted a different gun and I don't know, whatever you think they've created a narrative inside the charging documents that aren't real. Why didn't they just fake the forensic report when it came to the ballistics? Why didn't they just say, yep, it matches? It matches.
Right.
Well,
like, if they're that powerful, how are they letting like a Vogue intern and a pizza delivery guy be the ones that unravel their amazing conspiracy? It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, man. It's just like,
if they're going to create text messages, if they're going to create whole cloth out of, Discord chats and all of these other things, like you're telling me they wouldn't just fabricate the ballistic report and be like, yep, it matches. Like, case closed, we're done. But that's not what they did. And I think it's, kind of self-evident.
It's not even the feds on the lead, right? I mean, the FBI helped in the initial investigation, but the Utah State Police, wouldn't they have been the lead on all of this? I mean, it's a Utah prosecution. It's not a federal prosecution, right? I'm pretty sure.
It's the Utah State, it's SBI, the State Bureau of Investigation. So it's the state level investigators. They're doing it. Look, I'm sure they have plenty of help, just like any states can be like, hey, you know what, FBI, we need you to, take a look at this. They can call in or they can ask for assistance in some forensics that they may not be able to handle, which is done all the time. And of course, because of the high profile nature of this case, the FBI came in and started assisting right away, but it was never under their jurisdiction. It was always a state jurisdiction. And Utah has it from the beginning with the assistance of the FBI. So, I run out of ideas of what even the claims are. And, it's just
there's so many and they're so insane. Like Candace Owens and I don't know if it was just her. I think Ian may have done it too. They brought up that there was 19 active Israeli cell phones in the area.
12.
Which
it was 12.
Or 12. Was it 12? Whatever. Yeah. So 12. Which, okay, well, how many Chinese cell phones were active in the area? How many just any cell phone from any other nation where they're, show us that too, right? If you're going to bring up,
I brought this up the other day. It's like, okay, number one, I don't even know where that report came from.
Right.
Like, I don't even know if it's legit. But number two, before we can say something suspicious, we got to have some sort of baseline. Like if we took a census of how many cell phones that are, originated from Israel, I mean, what's the normal look like? Is it 12? Is it 30? Is it 40? Because I guarantee you there's some Israeli students, people from Israel or people that got phones from Israel there. They actually have a Israel student outreach program, like they have an exchange program. So that could be on the low side for a normal day. Like, we don't know, but the fact is I don't even know if that claim is legitimate. Like, that came from Candace Owens. It's just like the narrative where she came up with, that there were some bomb dogs there, and they came, they looked for a rifle, they couldn't find it, and suddenly the FBI found it. First of all, I don't even know that is true. Number two, I actually researched the area. Every responding department out there, she actually names the dogs, and I don't know if she realizes this or not, but there's registries and like you can find these dogs. I can't find those dogs anywhere near Utah. And then the only departments around that would actually be responding, they only have narcotics dogs. And then lastly, I played a video and I showed this. Bomb dogs aren't just always gun dogs. Like, those are two separate things. You have to train a bomb dog to be a gun dog. And sometimes they just have gun dogs that are completely different. And I played a video on that. Folks, it's on my profile on X if you guys want to go check that out. But, they just take you down this rabbit hole and just throw all of these things that you're constantly defending or trying to explain. And
Yeah,
you know,
it's the same. It's that same old Russian tactic. You take one tiny little piece of information, and the truth of that information doesn't actually matter. It does work a little bit better if it is a little bit true, and then you build your narrative based on that one little thing, and you just extrapolate from there. Like, and the other thing too, if this whole conspiracy was so well thought out and so done by professionals, why would they leave attributable phones to Israel on there if the Israeli government was involved in it? You don't think they understand how to get burners in the United States? Like, you're telling me that these super assassins know less about the game than some gangbangers in Chicago that know how to work burners? Like, what? Okay.
Or if it's such a sophisticated, you know, if we have Israel involved, we have, I don't know, I guess the U.S. military, the French, some of the most elite militaries in the world that pulled off this super sophisticated assassination. They did such a good job that they were never detected. They actually did exactly what they wanted to do, and they were able to exfil completely undetected as well. But the one thing they screwed up was they had some other shooter, I guess, shoot him with 223, but they put a 30-06 with the Patsy. Like, that's what you want to go with.
None of that makes sense.
It doesn't.
I mean, again, they'll pick one little thing out, and then they'll be like, because this one little thing is wrong, the whole case is wrong. And I'm going to believe these people that are saying this because someone went out and shot some dead pig parts, or someone went out and shot some gelatin, right? Yeah. These people have never hunted before, I assume, right? Like, if you ever hunted, and you don't even have to hunt like real big game, if you just went deer hunting before and on a consistent basis in your life, you're gonna see numerous times where bullets hit places that you would 100% expect there to be an exit wound, and there's not an exit wound. And sometimes there's a ton of blood and a ton of damage, and sometimes there's hardly any blood and not a lot of damage, and they die immediately. But it's weird, right? But it happens when you're talking about a projectile moving at crazy speeds, hitting, perfusing flesh. Things are going to happen.
No, you're absolutely, like, for these morons to go in their backyard and do this backyard ballistics nonsense and then act like that they're doing some sort of science back there is insane to me. Like, there's too many variables that you cannot replicate. And just like you said, look, ballistics don't do weird things. Everything they do can be accounted for from a physics standpoint. The problem is it's a high-speed energetic event that is being effective at the microscopic level. Like, the different densities of tissue. My tissue is different density than yours. Like, so the exact same bullet hitting you at the exact same angle, which is, these are all things that are almost impossible to replicate, with the exact same muzzle velocity. Like, if they hit us the exact same, like, we would see different results. That's just a fact. And people try to play these games. I'll throw this comment up there, and we'll get into this a little bit if you guys would like. And I know everybody loves, we could do a ballistic show every night and everybody would love it. So, Jesus Christ, guys, if there's no exit, then where are the rest of the fragments? Does it add up to the lowest possible 30-06 grain bullet? Well, look, I'll also I'll point you to the pinned tweet on my profile. And here's just some 30-06 ballistic facts. You cannot determine or predict any terminal ballistic outcome without knowing the following variables: ammunition source, factory or hand loads; ammunition type, low recoil, varmint, big game, or dozens of other commercial options; ammunition condition, old, new, used, exposed to elements, old, new, or exposed to elements or moisture; projectile weight, 30-06 is available from 55 grain to 220 grain plus; projectile type, full metal jacket, soft point, ballistic tip, frangible, tumble upon impact, and dozens more commercial designs with vastly different terminal performance; muzzle velocity, projectile stabilization, determined by proper twist weight rate for the projectile weight, also affected by barrel defects, damage, or condition. You must know all of these, or at least several of these variables, to make any valid ballistic prediction. This is just an objective fact. Anyone claiming otherwise is wrong. This list does not include external variables that can further affect terminal ballistic outcomes. So all of those things and we don't know a single one of them, not a single one. And people are like, I know what should have happened one way or the other.
Yeah. And again, you're arguing probability versus impossibility.
Yeah.
Is it impossible? Obviously, it's not impossible for a bullet to hit somebody in the neck and not have an exit wound. It happened to MLK. It's happened. I mean, I did a little short thread, just showed I think 4 or 5 different cases where bullets, even some of them point blank range. I know some people are like, one of those is from a handgun. I'm like, all right, bro. Like, yes, I get it, but the end result here is kind of the same, right? Like that's what we're talking about. We're talking about bullets fired into soft tissue. So do you think that the kinetic force behind one of these bullets is just so much different than the other? I don't know. I don't know what to like. It's a crazy argument to even have.
It really is. And again, I love how we start off with the argument. Hey, if it would hit a person, it would always exit. If it hit them in the face, it would blow their head off. If it hit them in the head, it'd blow their head off. If it hit them in the neck, it'd completely go through every single time. But then you're like, well, Martin Luther King was actually shot from half the distance that Tyler Robinson shot from, allegedly, and 65 yards. And I know there's a lot of controversy around Martin Luther King, and that's fine. But one thing that's not contested that I could find anywhere, nobody was saying that it's not a 30-06. And what happened was Martin Luther King was actually hit in the jaw, and then it went at this angle, hit him in the jaw, broke his jaw, didn't rip his jaw off. I keep seeing that. All right. He was actually buried in with an open casket. Or he had a funeral, an open casket funeral. Hit him there, went into his neck, hit his spine, deflected downward. I mean, very similar to what happened with Charlie Kirk. And I want to introduce you to someone that I know. I don't know if you know Chuck Ritter. Are you familiar with Chuck Ritter?
Yeah, I know Chuck.
So Chuck was actually shot from 25 yards away with 7.62 by 54. And if you don't know, 7.62 by 54 is the Russian ballistic equivalent of 30-06. I mean, from the high to the low, it's almost exact. It's a little bit more powerful than 308, less powerful than 300 Win Mag, just like 30-06 is. And he was shot basically from the 4 o'clock, his 4 o'clock. It went into his back right here, slammed into his vertebrae, deflected downward. Not only did it not exit, it didn't kill him, and the badass dude stayed in the fight. And this is exactly what we have. And this instance is extremely unique because it was during combat operations in Afghanistan, and one of his buddies was actually wearing a GoPro. So the whole thing is on video, and then his injuries are documented, as well as he actually even submitted the medical report documenting his injuries because everybody was calling him a liar on X when he started he inserted himself into this conversation. Mm-hmm. So things do happen. Unexpected results are actually fairly common. And you just got to do a little research and you can figure some of this stuff out. It's not that difficult.
And it's always the people that have probably never shot a gun or definitely never fired a gun in anger, back at anybody, or never saw battlefield wounds. I mean, it's these people that have sat behind a computer screen or they got on their phone, between their job at FedEx or whatever the hell they do. And then they're experts now because they watched a YouTube video of some idiot shooting some gel and being like, look, it destroys this gel. I'm like, okay. Is that gel the exact density of flesh and then to bone of living perfusing tissue? If not, then why are you talking about it?
Ballistic gel is not an equivalent to human tissue. What ballistic gel was, it was determined by the FBI. All it is a quantitative and comparative analysis of rounds to rounds for when it comes to penetration. That's what they designed 10% ballistic gel for. They can say, hey, what we need is a standard of 12 inches. I don't remember what the standard is. It's we need 12 inches of penetration before we're going to allow this ammo to be used by our agents. That's where it came from. So It is not, no one's going to claim that it is an analog for a human body. And if they do, they don't know what they're talking about because that's not what it was ever designed for. Just so we're clear.
Exactly. Yeah. That one dude put a Charlie Kirk shirt, the Freedom shirt on it, and then did his little experiment, and now everyone should just believe it.
Yeah, and they're not even doing it at the correct distance, the correct angle, and there's no way to replicate. Like you just throwing a pot roast up on a board and shooting it is not equivalent to shooting a person. And I will say one of the things that I found time and time again, and I actually have some pathology reports that I'll go over at some point. But one thing I saw with 30-06, and this goes with almost all rifle rounds, there is something interesting that's taking place when it hits the spine. And we can think about this, like you can put a piece of steel up, a thin piece of steel, let's say it's a half-inch, quarter-inch, whatever you want it to be. And we'll have a round go through that. But then you take the same thickness of Kevlar that's obviously flexible, and it won't penetrate. And it's because it actually disperses energy. And I think there's something going on with the spine where, again, you have the spine that's very long. It's attached. It's also very maneuverable. And then it's attached from the base of your spine all the way to the top of your spine. Like when you hit the spine, it is going to disperse a lot of that energy and transfer that energy in a way that I think that the evidence is proven time and time again that, that's going to prevent an actual exit wound. So that's what's going on with that. And to address this question specifically, if there's no exit wound, then where's the rest of the fragments? They're in the body. I mean, it's as simple as that. I'm sure most of those they've been able to dig out through the medical exam. One of the first reports that we heard was that Charlie Kirk was basically hit in the T2, but it also crashed. The way this was quoted, like the C1, the C2, the C3, the C4. And then everybody made a big meme out of this and kind of joking like, oh, it hit him in the C1. Folks, the C1, and he's a medic, so he would know, is way up here. So this is at the top of your cervical spine. And then the T1 is essentially basically where your thoracic spine starts, which is much lower. So what I think happened is, again, he's angled over like this. He's shooting at about a 9-degree angle, if I remember correctly. It goes in, it hits him in the T1 or somewhere around there. And then we have fragments that go everywhere. And it is going to get crashed through and go upward and everywhere else. So, like, and look, at the end of the day, we're sitting here guessing because we don't know what happened.
And we're just, and again, I mean, we have to combat it because it's lies being pushed, and they're adding into a narrative to create this whole other narrative, which is just a whole other part of the propaganda push that they're doing anyways, to divide not only the right, but to divide NATO, to divide the U.S.-Israeli alliance, and then to divide Five Eyes. Like, that's what it all, if you think about it, if you really think about it from a strategic standpoint, how do you beat a country that is unbeatable from a military standpoint? Because that's what the United States is. You're never invading the continental United States. It's not going to happen. You can't get within 200 miles of the East Coast, anywhere on the East Coast or the Gulf, without us knowing. So that's out. You're not coming anywhere near there. Same thing on the West Coast. And even if you did somehow fool the West Coast, then you got to get over the Rockies. You can't come from Canada because you can't move heavy equipment down through all of the mountains and snow and everything up in Canada. You can't come from Mexico because there's also, guess what, down there? Mountains and desert. And we would see it. So there's no way to conventionally come and hit the United States in any way that makes sense, and that you wouldn't have massive casualties and lose your entire fighting force, bar none, right? Okay, so kinetic strike of the United States is out. I mean, short of biological or nuclear weapons, there's no way militarily you can do it. So what's the other way you can do it? You have to do it through psychological operations. You have to do it through information warfare. And you have to do it from a standpoint that's going to break up what is holding you back, which is these alliances that dominate the world. So that's all. It all feeds into the same information operation that is just trying to defeat the United States and trying to take the United States out of the bullet stage. That's it.
Yeah, and they're trying to divide the conservative right. And to do that, one of the things they have to do is take down TPUSA, because TPUSA was directly responsible for getting Trump elected the second term. That is, they want to stop MAGA. And really what all this is, Jason, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, but this is what I've said for a couple months, is that this entire black pill movement is all about what it comes down to is the globalist agenda that's just repackaged for the right. They want us to become isolationists so that Russia, China, Iran, and all of our enemies can just run amok in the world, and they don't have to worry about any sort of military threat from us. That's what they want. They want us to become extreme isolationists. Look, the only thing that is more dangerous than extreme, us going overseas, interventionalism, is extreme isolationism. That's really what it comes down to, because we can have moderate interventionalism and be okay, and we have to. But in extreme isolationism, man, that just lets all of our enemies take over the world, and we'll continue to see America, just completely go into a recession when it comes to our influence over the world, and that's the last thing that we want. So somebody did bring this up, and folks, I'm going to prioritize super chats, but I will definitely throw up some of these live chats as well. And somebody said, "Isn't the Daily Mail the equivalent of the National Enquirer?" And it absolutely is. And I actually printed some of these out. Here's a Daily Mail article. "Why is Trump putty in Putin's hand? Rumors of Russian compromat have been dismissed as fake news by the president. So what's the real reason he's cozying up to Putin?" And then it goes on to just slander the president and basically call him a shill of Russia. Then we have Moderna says its COVID vaccine prevented 100% of its cases in children aged 12 to 17 and plans to apply for FDA authorization. Look, the Daily Mail being a UK rag, it's actually worse than the Inquirer, to be honest with you, because freaking Brits. AstraZeneca's vaccine is 100% effective against severe COVID. U.S. trial of jabs saw no deaths or hospitalizations and found it works just as well in over 65 and does not cause blood clots. The last one I want to show you, though, was this article, Melania Trump in 2017. So basically, they published an article stating that Melania Trump, they had information from anonymous sources that Melania Trump was actually at one time a escort. And guess what? They got sued for $150 million and had to retract that. So yeah, they are no better than the Inquirer, and probably worse, because I think a lot of the stuff they put out is intentionally targeting the U.S. And you can take that for what it is. I saw another super chat I want to hit real quick. This 360 cam that has TR on the roof taking the shot and running off, could the cam also see Charlie? I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Let me pull up. I'll try to take a look at that. I have that footage as well. I don't think it could see. Matter of fact, I don't think it just didn't have the line of sight because the buildings extend way out. It wouldn't have had the line of sight of Charlie. So we're not going to get the best footage from that camera, folks. What we see on this picture right here is what we're going to get. This picture, I mean, it's zoomed way in. That's probably 200 yards, if not a little bit more. And so that's what we're going to see from that camera. But folks, they have just going there. I mean, there are surveillance cameras all over the place. There is zero chance that they're not going to be able to track Tyler Robinson from point A to the rooftop and then off. But on top of that, there's also no chance that we're not going to see very clear images of his face as well that are going to help us identify. They're not releasing that to the public. The only reason they released the footage that they did was because at the time we didn't know who shot Charlie Kirk, and they were releasing that hoping that somebody could see that person. And I guarantee you somebody went through that footage and very carefully selected the footage that they wanted to present to you in order to not damage the case. That's why we got the footage that we got. We didn't get the best footage. We're not getting the best footage from that, and we still haven't seen the best footage even from people with cell phones. People with cell phones, we basically got either footage that people didn't turn in or that the FBI didn't want. They're like, that does nothing for us. Trust me, we're going to see a lot of very compelling footage out there. Thank you, Prairie Schooner, for becoming a member. We appreciate you. What else do you got to say about like the Tyler Robinson case as it sits, Chase? Anything?
I mean, I think it's just all they're using part of it as a distraction. They're using it to vilify the same. Again, it's all part of that same op. And it's again, when I say op, I don't mean that they're they're having these secret meetings with all these people and they're all joining in together. That's not the way that the op even has to work. There's people that are going to have their own way to do things. There's people that are going to join in on this because they know that they can profit off of it. Like, do you know what my account would do? It took me, I think at the beginning of the year of, I think at the beginning of 25, I was at like 15-ish thousand maybe. And then, you know, before that, I'd always been a really small account from there. It took me that long to get over to 100K till now. And that just happened a few weeks ago. If I came out tomorrow and was like, I no longer believe this, blah, 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 and said that the Jews did everything and Israel was evil, my account would have 250,000 followers, like immediately. And if that right there doesn't show you that you can, if you join in with all the stuff, with all the different efforts that are being pushed in these directions, you're going to get reposted and all these other people are going to follow you that have fallen for all of this stuff. And now you're just one of the troops that have joined in on this whole thing that they don't, again, most people don't even know that what they're doing is part of an op. They're following certain other big accounts that were captured either by coercion or by financial means, whichever way.
Yeah.
But that's the very small minority. That's the crazy thing about propaganda is you don't need to pay 1,000 influencers. You just need to pay a few. And then those messages are going to get amplified by their followers. And then it just goes from there and spreads. People love controversy and they love to like believe in something that isn't true, and especially if it vilifies somebody that they can then say that that's all the problems of the world are because of these people right here. The same thing that Hitler did.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing that we need to realize too is look, for instance, and one of the things we've talked about, and I can tell you there's good evidence that it's taking place. All these bot accounts and all these sock puppet accounts, I really do think that this is foreign malign influence. And all they got to do is find a narrative that they think will be damaging to America. And I think they got a lot more bang for their buck when they first started seeing what Candace was doing and started promoting some of this stuff, whether that's China, Russia, Iran. Like, you know, they're pushing this stuff, and it's not like they have to coordinate with Candace Owens. It does a couple things. If I got a bunch of money and I want to promote something that you're saying, all right, all I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, I can either pay you $1 million or I can have somebody in Pakistan. I can invest $300,000 in Pakistan and buy a bot farm and a sock puppet farm where these guys are managing 50 accounts, and now they're sharing what I tell them to share. So if you say something about Jews or you say something about Tyler Robinson that is not guilty, and I think that's going to have a psychological impact on the U.S. and hopefully a political impact in the U.S., I tell you, hey, this is what I want pushed. So now they're sharing those things. And by the way, then they're going around and they're going to accounts like mine and Chase's and talking crap to us constantly. So they're downvoting certain elements of this, and then they're positively reinforcing and getting views from whatever they're trying to push. Now, this does a couple of things. Obviously, people are incentivized, and we've seen this, how this has caught fire. Like all these people, there's so many of these people that wouldn't believe this, that don't believe this, that's all they're covering, and they're boosting the same thing that Candace is saying because they see that there's money behind it, there's views, there's subscriber counts. So if Candace says one thing and it's sudden like, oh man, I got 10 million views on that one thing, and it was promoted via foreign influence, he's going to sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to talk more about that one thing. It just, I mean, it's so simple and it's so easy that it's almost dumb. And we just got to realize what's going on and how we're being manipulated. I do want to address this question too. Chase, did you want to add anything to that before
I mean, it's a business, right? Like Sean Ryan and everyone that's involved with his show now and his whole setup and none of that's cheap. There's definitely money involved in that. And anytime a bunch of money comes into something, then there's going to be expectations with that money. And then there's going to be people in control of other things of it. And then they're going to push things based off what the metrics are showing them. So if it's more popular to do this show to hint that the USS Liberty attack was this conspiracy as well and blah, blah, blah. And it was a ploy to try to get us into World War III, which again, doesn't make any sense, but whatever. You see these, they see the metrics on that and it's a business. So they're going to try to push the information that's going to get them the most response, the most engagements, and move forward. That's just the way it works.
Yeah, no, I agree. Krager says, look, look, Gary, I'm just wanting to iron out things that I don't think are right. I respect all the work you guys did, but this stinks to high hell, and you know it. Number one, thank you. And number two, you'll never hear me, and I think I can speak for Chase, and he can clarify if I get this wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with speculating. There's nothing wrong with talking about these different things, especially it's going to happen in a vacuum of information. Like, we have these information gaps all throughout the Tyler Robinson. That is normal and to be expected. The problem is when people start filling those gaps with crazy things that make no sense. And I want everybody to think about going back to the very beginning of this. Well, let me clarify this point before we get to that. If I laid out this case to you and you had just landed here on Earth or you never heard about what's going on, I said, hey, look, here's what happened. Let me show you the video. And then let's go through the charging documents and show you all the evidence that we have available. All right. You see Tyler Robinson allegedly running off the roof. You see where he goes. And then I take you through the charging documents and we talk about all of the evidence in here and then all the circumstances behind it. The parents' testimony that they're going to testify in court on and confirm all this stuff. It's already been announced that the parents and Lance Twiggs are going to be key witnesses for the prosecution. Folks, if the stuff in here wasn't true, the prosecution wouldn't be pulling them in to testify. If the first thing they did was get Matt or his wife, I don't remember his wife's name, but Matt Robinson on the stand, say, hey, did you actually identify your son? And he's like, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't identify the rifle. Like, the case is going to get thrown out almost immediately, or at least a lot more. The prosecution is going to have a lot harder time. They wouldn't even bring them up to the stand. Like, they do interviews. They've done so many interviews prior to this case, and it's going to continue to happen before they put them on the stand. So they know exactly what they're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if I walked you through, what's that?
It's depositions, which are under oath.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're deposing these witnesses before they're going to, ever call them up under trial. And that deposition, they are going to say what's true because they're also under oath in that deposition. So then if they got up onto the stand and tried to say something different, now they perjured themselves and they're lying. So like that, it's people don't understand how the law works too.
I have looked into that. As far as I understand, for criminal cases, they don't necessarily do a deposition, but what they do take is full witness statements that are going to be like, if what they say in court contradicts their witness statement that they've given to a law enforcement officer, because they will, and then they will definitely do these interviews. But as I understand it, for criminal cases, they don't do full depositions. I could be wrong on that, but regardless, everything remains true. But my point is, if I took somebody that wasn't aware of all the craziness and I walked you through what's actually in here and said, hey, this is what they got, there would be no suspicion about what's going on. Like, this is the most solid case I've ever seen, that I've ever followed. Like, the lack of gaps in here. The problem is we've all been psyoped. All right. You've been exposed to nonsense from the very beginning. From the very beginning, the day one, there was pictures of Rick Cutler and people claiming that he had a palm gun. There were people saying that there were the camera guns. People saying that there were people underneath the tunnels. All of these things that created this air of suspicion, and they've continued to build on that. So now people are just brainwashed, essentially, like, yeah, something's weird about this. Well, what's weird about this is all the lies that have been thrown at you, that some of them were compelling and convincing, at least for a short time. Now we're getting into exploding mics and all this other stuff. And they're creating this suspicion that wouldn't exist without all this, the circus that's going on around it. I mean, it just wouldn't. And you guys tell me what you think about that in the comments. That's my belief. I think this is probably one of the most clear cases ever.
Yeah, it is clear. And I poke holes in things for fun. Like, that's what I'll whether I do research on, whether I do research on a nonprofit, or whether I do research on this, or where's this going, or what was behind this. I mean, I did a whole thread breakdown, and I used some, there's a I can't remember the dude's name, but he did a really good breakdown on the Las Vegas shooting. And so then I went in and I wanted to do a little bit more analysis on it and go look through everything. And there's actually some really big holes in that one. right? There are a lot of things we can look at and talk about. I mean, there's the differences in the body that was autopsied and the FAA physical that what's his face, Paddock, did a few years before that, right?
Yeah.
So like, there's a ton of stuff in there that we could talk about that is really fishy and does kind of stink like a conspiracy and does stink like there's some things that have been covered up. The helicopters that didn't have transponders, that shut down the main CCTV cameras in Vegas that would have seen certain things happen. The glass wasn't broken out when shooting started. So like, there's a lot of things in that one that we could let's talk about that. That might be real. There's none of that in this. Yeah. Everything that all the naysayers in this Charlie Kirk assassination are basing it off of nothing. There's literally nothing. Just the fact that a bullet would go through the neck, and that's their whole argument.
Yeah. Like, which look, so, I think that's the strongest one. Look, I will be the first to say that that's an atypical result, but there's plenty of plausible explanations for it, and you can't just turn it into this massive conspiracy because the alternative theories just don't make sense. Just like Chase and I went through, like. You're going to create this conspiracy. You're going to have professional shooters or somebody else up there shooting a different caliber, and then you're going to plant the patsy with a 30-06. And then why wasn't the patsy just found like a couple days later in his car dead, where he unalived himself? If that's the scale of what we're talking about, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the FBI being involved, the Utah authorities being involved. We're talking about, I mean, if you want to include Israel, French Foreign Legion, the U.S. government, I mean, whatever theories that you ascribe to, you can throw all those in there. But once you do that, it makes less and less sense. Like, if they faked all of this, why didn't they fake the ballistic results? If they faked all of this, like, why is Tyler Robinson still around? None of that makes sense to me. Why has his parents not come out and said, hey, you know what? That's my son didn't do that, because I would be doing that for my kids. I don't like the government, and I don't trust the government. And if I thought the government was railroading my kids to a conviction that included or period, I don't care if it's a conviction to a freaking traffic ticket. I'm going to go in there and be like, no, I don't care what you're telling me. That's not what happened. My kid was at home, and now you send him a traffic ticket here or whatever else, and you're making these accusations that just aren't true. No parent would just sit there quiet if that's what was going on.
No. There's a preponderance of evidence that Charlie Kirk was killed by Tyler Robinson. And we will, that'll all come out in court. I don't know if they'll have like a closed session, or if they'll have where they have like an artist or whatever. You know how some.
No, they're going to have videos. It's going to be live streamed.
Oh, then it'll all come out there. And at that point, they're still going to seize on any moment that they can. So whatever the smallest little piece is, whether somebody stumbles while they're on the stand and they didn't say something perfectly or whatever it is, they're going to seize on that. And they're going to be like, see, I told you this is all an op. And you're like, all right. Yeah. Dude, like if this was an op with a professional, you never would have seen that professional. They would have had a collapsible rifle. They would have had, there's all these things that would have went into this if this were actually an op. And he also wouldn't have jumped down from the roof, and he would have had a planned out route through where no security cameras were going to see him. Like there's just all this. There's all this that should be there if it was a professional hit, and it's just not there.
Well, they wouldn't try to do it in front of 3,000 people. I mean, there's so many more efficient ways that include a lot less risk. Like the idea that in the 21st century, with all the technology that we have and all the means that we have to unalive someone, you're going to tell me that we're going to take the risk of adding a patsy or adding conspirators that don't carry any weight, that aren't useful, and then especially leave them alive. I mean, they wouldn't have done it in front of 3,000 people with 3,000 cameras and it being live streamed and everything else. Like, you can't convince me of a motive that makes sense that's what actually took place. Real Marine says, and we'll talk a little bit about this, if there was any foreign interference, the IRGC much more likely suspect. So much precedent for that involvement. So to kind of bolster that claim, one of the things that we've talked about on here is the armed queers Salt Lake City. Let me throw this up here just so you guys know what we're talking about. I got to pull down one of these, remove at stage, and then I'll pull this up. All right. So the New York Post, founder of the Armed Queers group, investigated in Charlie Kirk shooting is radical trans leftists who advocated violence. And by the way, this group and this person is under investigation. This is a dude dressed up as a girl, and he also happens to be Iranian. Like, coincidence? And we also know that there were text messages and other social media posts, not text messages, that it predicted Charlie Kirk's assassination. Could there be a link? I'm not saying that there is, but I can tell you right now that this is being investigated for sure. There's been articles out on this. Is there a link to Iran? We don't know. The last time that I heard about this person is that they're actually stowed away in an embassy, an Iranian embassy. Let me see if I can confirm or deny that. But this is what we have, folks. And we know that Charlie Kirk was afraid of the left, and specifically the trans left. That message that people keep talking about, I don't know if it was ever posted. I know the text exchange regarding Israeli donors, or Jewish donors specifically, which has
Jewish
no,
donors, yeah.
Jewish donors, has no direct tie to Israel. These are donors that were Jewish, that were wanting to dictate who came on and whether or not they were going to support them. And as donors, they have the right to voice those opinions if you're given millions and millions of dollars. And Charlie has the right to push back on it. That's fine. But there was no direct tie to Israel specifically. But with that being said, the other text messages that were at least discussed is the fact that the night before, a couple days before, there was a text going out, and I've confirmed this, that those texts were going out that Charlie was afraid, and they said they were going to kill him. And that was specifically linked to the left. It was Dan Flood that shared that information, or it came from. So it was the left. That's why Charlie Kirk had security. He's been getting death threats, thousands of death threats in mass. And specifically what seemed the most credible were the ones that were coming from the trans activists. So this is what we have. And the crazy part about this is we know all this information, and there's certain podcasters out there, or really all podcasters out there, that haven't bothered to investigate this element of it at all. So, Chase, why do you think that there's Candace Owens specifically? Why do you think she hasn't looked into this at all?
Because that doesn't help her narrative, right? Her crowd now is so into this that Israel is actually the evil one. So if they can't have anyone from Iran be evil, because that doesn't work, right? That hurts the narrative. It doesn't help the narrative. So they're going to push it that way. And you're 100% right. This is the left pushed rhetoric for years and years, push these ideological, these super detrimental movements like transgenderism and all this kind of stuff. They've been pushing on us for decades. They are indoctrinating young people because young people are impressionable, especially young people that feel disenfranchised or feel like they have a chip on their shoulder because the world isn't exactly how they thought it was going to be, or because they're just young people that have never actually experienced anything hard in their life. So the first tiny little hard thing is what it ends up breaking them. They get indoctrinated in this stuff. And the left doesn't have to, now the left doesn't need to push conspiracies in a sense that they don't have to actually be the one running it. Like they don't have to, we're going to get this guy to go shoot this person over here. All they do is they light the flame and they push it out and they keep fanning it and keep fanning it. And they know a fanatic is going to do what they need them to do. And then they're going to absolve themselves by just pushing whatever narrative makes sense at the time. So the left is using, whether they're in cohorts with Candace, I don't know. I don't know what their whole relationship looks like. She married a lefty dude, didn't she? Like she used to work for Vogue. She used to dox people that she disagreed with. So, I mean, maybe she was just pretending to be on the right from the get-go. Maybe she's actually been working, to further the leftist cause all this whole time. Whatever, that doesn't really matter.
What I will say, so he's not a leftist as far as we know. Like he was involved with UK, the UK branch of TPUSA, and it was said that he actually was trying to purchase TPUSA. Folks, that's hearsay. I haven't seen anything that confirms that.
None of that really even matters. It's the left saw what was happening, and then saw just how successful pushing these narratives could be. And why they're not going to take the blame for indoctrinating this kid. Why would we do that when we can just push a little bit here and there to make it seem like that Tyler didn't even do it? It wasn't because he was indoctrinated from this leftist ideology and dating a trans furry or anything like that. It was because actually he's a patsy, and now he's the good guy. Just like they always elevate criminals, and they never, and then they always try to tear down the good people out there as something evil and wrong. And I don't care if you disagree with certain things that Charlie Kirk said. I actually disagree with Charlie Kirk on his stance on Iran and on his stance on kind of war as a whole.
Sure.
He DM'd me a few times, especially after the Vegas bombing thing happened. And so we talked a little bit there. And just because I disagree with a few things about him or things that he thinks about, doesn't mean that, that you don't have to like agree with every single thing a person says, but he was a good person. Like, there's no one that can sit here and say that he wasn't a good person. And the only people that are saying that are because they're on the left and they believe that anyone that is against their ideology and what they think is true is evil. And so they've pushed that to this limit now where they're okay with killing us as long as we aren't on their side. As long as if we're on the opposite side of what their narrative needs to accomplish, then they're fine with our deaths. And the left's always been that way, even all the way back to Europe.
And we saw proof of that. Like, there was at least a week there that we believed, like right when Tyler Robinson was caught, it's like, okay, he's a leftist, he's a trans activist, he's dating a furry. Like, we all were buying the official narrative there for a minute. And what we saw was all of these leftists praising the fact that he was killed. Like, it should have been done sooner. Like, I'm glad he's dead. And then come Halloween, people are actually dressing up like a shot Charlie Kirk. I mean, it was just disgusting. But that's what the left pushes. And you're telling me that of all the people that ascribe to these different beliefs and this ideology, and they're that radical to do something so disgusting, there isn't some people out there that are willing to act upon it? Like, it's nuts.
I mean, they're already mentally unstable people. You don't think that you're in the wrong body or think that other people can be in the wrong body if you don't have something already kind of wrong upstairs a little bit. It's just not something normal you think about. It's just like a schizophrenic person. I kind of use this as a parallel here, because they're both mental disorders, right? One of them, a schizophrenic person, we treat them in a way to let them realize that they don't not actually seeing these fake people. They're not actually hearing these voices. They don't actually have these friends or this, whatever the case of this person's schizophrenia is. That's not real. That's not reality. And we're teaching them that that's not reality, so that they can exist in society knowing what reality is and what is not. And then the trans movement changes that, and it's no longer about what is reality. It's about what is this person's reality, which is not reality, right? So they're already living in this kind of weird quasi-reality state that they've been even coaxed into getting into. So they're already susceptible to all of these things. So it's super easy for them then to say, oh, well, Charlie Kirk, he was a Nazi and a racist, and he just spread hate all day, and now he deserves to die. And that's how they justify it all.
Well, and you can think about, like, Charlie was one of the most effective voices. I think he really was. Like, we started rejecting the whole trans thing, I don't know, probably somewhere around real hardcore around 2022 or something like that. And I think 90% of that was because of Charlie. And I want you to look at this. You could talk about it from a political standpoint, but just from a business standpoint. Folks, there was an entire multi-billion-dollar cottage industry when it comes to trying to give these kids hormones, sex change operations, and all of this other stuff. So there was a lot to lose. Now, what I also think the trans ideology was all about too was really smuggling in and forcing upon us this leftist ideology even further, that is adjacent to that, right? We have to accept this. It's being actually put into law in many places, definitely being put into policies in schools. Like, you just have to accept it. You have to accept that, hey, when your 12-year-old daughter goes to school, she's going to be going to a locker room. There's going to be a girl there with, male genitalia running around, and you just have to accept it. And if you don't accept it, by the way, you are a bigot. You're, whatever you are.
Right.
And we saw that right here in Northern Virginia, folks. It was a big thing here in Loudoun County, and people were going up there. There was a couple girls raped by trans students. It got insane. And finally, people, even in Northern Virginia, which is mostly hardcore blue, man, they had enough of it. And I think the rest of America was like, all right, I'm not participating in this mental illness anymore. We're done with this. And I do think that put a real big target on Charlie Kirk, besides the fact that he was such a political powerhouse and he was directly responsible for getting Trump elected. You combine all those things together, I think it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when he was assassinated. And
right.
I
mean, he built the most successful Republican organization that's ever existed. I mean, he in a few years, and was directly responsible for Trump getting elected because he swung the 18 to 24 vote to such a high percentage to the right, and that terrified them, right? Because they won with Biden, right? They were like, we could literally run a potato up here, slap a D on it, and Democrats are going to vote for it. So we're good to go. Like even if Biden can't go, we'll just throw them all in here. We'll be fine. We're going to win again. It doesn't matter. And then Trump, with the help of Charlie Kirk, and then there was other people too. And then the big tent, the MAGA tent that united, and I voiced concerns about it. I voiced concerns for a long time about how a lot of these people aren't actually conservatives. And again, we don't always have to agree on everything. I'm friends with like left-leaning and centrist Democrats. I have friends that are more in the center than I am. I'm pretty conservative. Socially, I would say I'm not that conservative. I don't really care about all the social nonsense. Like, don't do it to kids, and don't expect me to like play your silly little game all the time. But like whatever you do as a consenting adult with another consenting adult, I don't really give a shit. It doesn't bother me at all. But from a conservative standpoint, like you don't all have to be as conservative as we are, but I do expect you to be like on the right if you're gonna act like you're on the right, which means that all of these things we're seeing. I mean, we voted for Trump to do these specific things. We voted for Trump to use our military in the way that it's supposed to be used, in a way that it enhances all of the capabilities that we have. It reduces all the stupid risks that come from ROEs and all these other things that politicians and careerist military people have kind of implemented us all this time for these wars. All that's went away. DEI left our military, and now our military is literally like just taking names and kicking ass, right? Like is the best way to put it. And it's exactly what you want us to do. And then people are griping about it. And I'm like, you voted for this. You sat there and said you wanted this, and now that it's happening, now you're mad. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, I think I was a little skeptical of Pete Hegseth becoming, Secretary of Defense at the time, but now he's Secretary of War. I was a little skeptical. Man, that guy has blown my socks off at how impressed I am with the job that he's done with this. He's probably my favorite guy in the Trump administration right now. The way that he is focused on lethality of our fighting force and nothing else, like singularly focused on making sure that when it comes to our war fighters, they can do what they're supposed to do. We're getting rid of, and the way that he stood up to, the chief of staff, the flag generals. Like, I am just completely impressed with Pete Hegseth. Going into this, I always thought that, I would vote for JD Vance. I still like JD. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm all about a Pete Hegseth ticket come 2028 for sure.
Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio. I mean, Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth have been the two, people, the two cabinet appointees that I would say have been the most competent and have given the best results. And they're in two positions that are actually really the most important for that. We have some of these other positions, these people that haven't met the expectations that we wanted them to. Again, the government's big, the government's slow, the government doesn't like change, especially doesn't like fast change. That's the whole point of the Constitution. It's the whole point of like all these people expect it. I can't remember who said it. I don't know if it was it was one of the bigger accounts on the right, but they talked about like our society now is a microwave society. We want this great meal warmed up, super hot and fast, and where I can eat it in a minute and a half and ready to go, right? Instead of like painstakingly cooking this meal from scratch and getting all the ingredients correct and doing all the work to make this like really nice meal. We just want it microwave. We want it and done like that. That's not the way our government works. That's not the way it was meant. It's meant to not do that, because if it could change quickly, then it would change quickly because of populist movements. And that was one of the things that the founding fathers were terrified about was populist movements gaining fast popularity and then making drastic changes to our systems that then would put the system into a shock and then potentially lead to a civil war. So
basically accelerationism, as you just described.
Accelerationism. That's perfect. I mean, populism, accelerationism, all these little nuances, and you can talk about it. They're all just, it's people that want to circumvent the Constitution because it's not allowing them to do everything that they want to do right at this moment.
Well, that's kind of where the black pill, where I saw the black pill movement start, and I want to get your thoughts on where that's going and what their objectives are. We'll talk a little bit about Tucker Carlson, and I don't even want to talk about the Queen of Lies, the DEI queen herself, but Tucker Carlson, kind of Megyn Kelly, and some of these other ones. But Trump came back into office and was like 3 weeks in, and people are expecting some sort of perp walks out of the deep state and some of these other politicians and other people within government. And they were expecting that. And it's like, look, man, that's not how our justice system works. It might have worked that way to some extent under the Democrats, but they were not following the rule of law. Like, we have to conduct investigations. And quite frankly, if we're going to follow the law and we conduct these investigations, we got to find evidence, and it's going to be hard. Like, people need to realize that. Like, when you have an administration like the Biden administration that was completely corrupt in so many different levels, once they realize they're getting kicked out of office, folks, they got months essentially to start figuring out how to hide the evidence. And there probably wasn't a lot of evidence to begin with of some of the claims. And forget about the Epstein files. That's a whole other thing. But, when we're like a month in and we have some dissatisfied people on the right where they set their expectations completely wrong, and now the Trump administration isn't meeting those expectations. I mean, the difference between our country now and what it was under the Biden, it couldn't be a bigger difference. Like, the difference is night and day, and it is so much better. But people are wanting, like, hey, don't pay attention to all these good things that have happened. We want you to pay attention to these like trivial issues at the end of the day that they're not doing that we want them to do. Like, where do you think? Well, number one, where do you think like that whole movement? What's the intent of that movement on the right?
So again, a lot of these people that joined and kind of I rode the coattails of MAGA to gain their accounts and to get popularity to a point where then they could kind of voice their own opinions. Like the Hodge twins, do I think they were ever conservatives? No, I think they were definitely never conservatives. They were never, they joined the right because the alternative was a dude with dementia and a alcoholic previous side chick girl who, like, whatever, there's not a lot of confidence coming from that side, right? So it was easy to team up against that because, again, it's just common sense. Most people who have done anything other than just watch a clip here and there knew that these people are not smart. They're not batting 1,000. They're not even batting in the 200s. So I think that they kind of use that movement, and now you're also seeing the prepping the battlefield for the what happens to MAGA after Trump is no longer involved in MAGA, because he's the center of gravity for MAGA, right? And there's no denying that. So he's been the constant throughout all of this. He's the one that's had assassination attempts against him. He's had lawfare thrown against him. He's had all of these things, and he's the constant holding that together. But what happens now, because he can't run again, right? And all these people are worried about, they're like, well, what if he tries to go for a third term? Well, like, are they going to amend the Constitution? I don't think so. I think we're going to be okay. We don't have the power to even pass one immigration reform bill, much less change the Constitution so that he can serve for a third term. So that's an insane thing to even say. So they're prepping this to try to push who they think they want in, and to kind of, it's also, again, there's going to be a power vacuum after if MAGA doesn't find a new leader to kind of move them through that. I don't know that that's Vance. I don't know that it's Hegseth. I don't know that it's Rubio. I don't know. And maybe it does just kind of move back into the like how the Tea Party kind of went back away, and then it just became the Republicans for a little while. And you had your little other fringe movements here and there, but MAGA was really the biggest. It was far bigger than the Tea Party ever got. So that's, I think what you're seeing is just a battle for power in that on the right, and these people that are claiming to be on the right, they're not going to win on the left because they're not far enough left, right? So they're never going to get to bridge that gap. But what they can do is they can bridge a little bit into the right and try to fracture and pull people into their more national, ultra nationalistic, a weird like in this whole traditionalist kind of Catholic movement that we're seeing of this anti-Israel, anti-Jewish stuff, and it's all kind of weird, but they're using that to divide it, and a lot of it's bot networks, a lot of it's this. I don't think a lot of these people are actually that real. I talk to, when I go out, and we were just in Charlotte a few weekends ago, and I was talking to some people, and I try to get the pulse of people that aren't in my straight orbit all the time. And there was one of my buddies was kind of discouraged by some of the stuff he's seen, and I was like, dude, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to demoralize you, to pull you away from Trump, so that they can set you up to go, fall in behind whoever is the next person that's going to try to keep this kind of movement going. So it's just vying for power. It's the same thing we saw on the left as the Squad and these progressive, ultra progressive Democrats wrenched power away from the, your traditionalist Democrats and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's, number one, going back to the influencer side of it that you're talking about and touching on. These people can find a place on the right, regardless of their real political agenda. And Candace Owens is an example of this, but Hodge Twins is another. But they can find a way to stand out on the right that they wouldn't be able to do on the left, right? Like the left has all these celebrities, they have these performing artists. It's pretty hard to stand out against them, but you can come over here as a minority, especially a minority female or whatever it is, and you can find a place and grow a following real quick. And one of the things that I have noticed, a lot of the people that turn on Trump that are now kind of pushing this black pill, and we can throw Tucker Carlson in there, Steve Bannon, whoever you want to say, it seems like to me, these are the people that I either need to be on the inside and then I'm happy. And if I'm not, then I got to be opposition, because opposition is always much more popular, and it's easier to kind of build an audience around opposition than just sitting there. You're not on the inside, and we're just like, everything's great. Trump, the MAGA movement's great. Everything's good. They got to push opposition. But I do think that there is this movement that they are trying to, exactly what you're talking about, usurp MAGA in the same way that MAGA took over the Republican Party. Like, it was this populist movement, and that's what they're trying to replicate, but it's going to turn into this isolationist movement, because they know that is very popular right now, because we just had 20 years of endless wars. People hate that, and they know that is a message they can put out there and be like, do you want to just have endless wars? They tried to turn Venezuela into an endless war. They're trying to turn Iran into an endless war, which I think is actually the more responsible thing to do, taking action now, so we don't have to do an endless war with a nuclear armed Iran 5-10 years from now. But I do think they want to make sure that Trump loses the midterms, and then they have 2 years to be an opposition voice saying, hey, you know what? He's a feckless president. He made all these promises. He couldn't get things done. And they're going to be very popular within our own party. And I think they plan to try to take it over. We're going to lose. If we lose the midterms, we will lose 2028. And I think what they're looking at is 2032 to recreate a new movement that undoes everything that MAGA has done. And I do think it's like this globalist agenda that's been rebranded for the right. So
here, let me send you this. Let me find it real quick, because I think we talked about it last time I was on. I don't think we ever got to bring it up, but I basically did the most dangerous COA for most dangerous course of action for how would you fracture the right, and then how would you quickly move in progressive powers and then change the Constitution and so on and so forth. And
you can send that to me, but you can also, should be a box down there that says looks like a little TV icon that you can share your screen.
Oh, for that? Yeah.
Whatever you want, either way.
But the idea is it's basically what you just said. It's create enough disenfranchisement in the right. You black pill everybody, you make them where they don't want to go out there and vote. So voter fatigue kind of takes over. We lose 2026. They tie the Trump administration up in impeachments and don't allow him to get anything else done. Not that a lot's getting done now, but even less gets done after the midterms. So then that drives our voter fatigue even higher, and then we lose 2028. And in 2028, not only do we lose, but we give them a supermajority. And with a supermajority, they can do things that would be very detrimental that actually don't require an amendment to the Constitution, such as packing the courts. So what they can't do is they can't end the lifetime appointment for judges. That's in the Constitution. That would have to be an amendment to the Constitution to change that. But what they can do is they can increase the number of justices there are on the Supreme Court, because that's not written into the Constitution.
Right.
So they can do that. And if they were to do that, pack the courts, and then there'd be no one to challenge these executive orders that the president could do. There'd be no one to challenge unconstitutional laws that the legislature could put through with a supermajority and the presidency, right? So, and even if the president wasn't super radical, which I don't know, that they would definitely try to run someone fairly radical. But even if they weren't, even if they had just a little bit, if they have a supermajority, they might have it to where they could get it veto proof as well. So then the president can't even stop it from happening. Now that there's no checks and balances anymore, and it quickly evolves into a situation where we have a constitutional crisis, and the only way out of that would be a convention of states and then civil war.
Yeah, I don't even think there's going to be a convention of states at that point. But no, you're right. I mean, that's the thing that people don't realize is, number one, if they take over the Supreme Court and or they continue to appoint these federal judges, and then they have the House and the Senate, even when they start passing these unconstitutional laws, or at the state level, they're passing these unconstitutional laws, those laws are going to be affirmed at both the federal and the Supreme Court level every single time. So all of these different things that when Trump administration came in was trying to put an end to illegal immigration that kept getting held up in the courts, it's going to be that 10 times worse. And folks, by the way, if the Democrats take over, our borders will be open again. We will have millions of people flooding through this country like you've never seen before. They're going to make up for whatever lost time that they had during the Trump administration. And that's another thing people are missing out. I don't care if Trump got anything else accomplished this entire term. The fact is, he shut down the border. We have negative net migration. We have over 3 million people that have either been deported or self-deported, illegal immigrants in this country. Folks, that's huge. That's a huge accomplishment that we would definitely have not seen under the Biden administration. And he's done a lot of good when it comes to the economy and many other policies, foreign policies. And whether you agree with Iran or not, we have a lot of positive things that have taken place in just the first year of his administration.
Yep. No, I mean, there's been some great things. I mean, the regulations have been slashed that were holding back small businesses, especially a lot of that we saw come under Biden from executive order. I mean, Trump did 300 something executive orders right when he came in the first 100 days to combat some of that stuff. I mean, a lot of good. Gas prices went down, and then all of a sudden, we go into a conflict, and then we'll talk about this a little bit more, so we can make sense from a strategic standpoint. But gas prices go up a little bit, and everyone loses their mind. Or I didn't vote for higher gas prices. It's still a dollar under Biden's peak in 2022 of a little over $5 a gallon of the national average. So we're not even close to that. And I think it's already kind of started stabilizing again. It's just, people don't understand. They don't understand that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't affect us. It affects China in a negative way, because about 50% of their oil and about 30% of their natural gas comes through the Strait of Hormuz every month. So if you put a leash on that, if you put an aircraft carrier and on each side, right, and if you send the Tripoli inside, and then you say, hey, guess what? We can effectively stop all the traffic from here if we wanted to. We're not going to right now, but we could stop it. And there's nothing China could do to stop us from doing that. And so people don't understand the pressure that now puts on China. China's not invading Taiwan anytime soon, not while we have aircraft carriers in there, and not while we could effectively stop all traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. So that's a strategic win, right? I think defeating China, even if it's a small defeat here and there, I think that's a good thing, right, for the United States. And it sets them back. It sets all their plans back. And China's not in a good place either. A lot of people don't understand that either. Like China, their economy's in shambles. Socioeconomically is just disastrous for them. The one-child policy has created this entire group of like 30-year-old males, and they have no women for them to marry. And so like they're just having all kinds of problems there. So yeah, I mean, they are a peer competitor, and they are a problem, and they're going to continue to be a problem because they're a quasi-communist government that has authoritarian control over their entire population, which is and it's a significant population. It's a significant economy, but they have a lot of problems too. And so if we can negatively affect them and we can slow them down, then that just adds to the amount of power and our ability to force project across the globe. So it's all good things for us. Yeah.
And that was one of the things that came up. I was told we were just going to talk about the ballistics and the reports on from the Daily Mail, and that's what I was prepared to talk about. And of course, we jumped into Iran, which, you know, being that it's a dynamic event, again, I don't want to overstate things or say something that's not true that's changed in the last few days. But one of the things I stated was like, look, we've already gotten commitments from many other countries to help us control the Strait of Hormuz. And, you know, Nate was saying that wasn't true. In the reality, what we've gotten right now is we have Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Japan, Canada, and a broader joint statement that 22 other countries, mostly European NATO countries, are saying that they will help as well. That initial core group includes UAE, Bahrain, Australia, South Korea, and New Zealand. So we do have we have countries that are willing to help us with this. And it's going to take a little while to get these things in place and to figure all this stuff out. But the fact is we can easily control just with our own Navy, by the way. Does it tie up resources? Yeah. And would it be the most strategically advantageous if we had our Navy tied up in the Strait of Hormuz? No, but we absolutely could control the Strait of Hormuz just with our own Navy. But once we get other countries on board, because we do have a coalition of other countries that are willing to help with this, we will get the Strait of Hormuz. And just like Chase stated, like, it doesn't affect us. It actually is negatively affecting the people that we want it to negatively affect, and that is mainly China, Russia, and many of our enemies out there. So again,
there's a lot of people too that don't understand the whole way the oil game works, right? So like, I have a bit of oil, smaller scale in my background, but enough to kind of understand. So with oil where it's at right now, their drilling is now increasing. Like American production is increasing because the price is enough to where now these companies are like, hey, let's hit these things now while we're making this money. And because we don't know how long this is going to last, because all oil prices are done by speculation, right? And speculation is based on certainty. Anytime anything breaks out in the world that's going to create a little bit of uncertainty, the prices are going to go up a little bit. You don't think that our military planners and our economic planners knew this? You don't think that Trump was briefed about what would happen if we did this ahead of time? Like, of course he was. And whether or not you want to believe that Trump is super intelligent or whatnot, like none of that really matters. He's surrounded by a lot of people who are super intelligent and a lot of people who have went through the dime fill of this whole problem set and know like with a reasonable doubt of what's going to happen if we do certain actions. This price increase was built in, and they knew this was going to happen. This isn't a shock to anybody, and it definitely wasn't a shock to anybody who's like has their pulse on the markets all the time anyway, and it feels the pulse of the markets all the time. But people overlook the fact that now, because oil has went up just a little bit, it's not killing you at the pump. It's a little bit more. I get it. It's not super ideal, and hopefully it doesn't last that long. But also now exploration and production or drilling is going to increase because of this stable price point for right now. So it's higher, which is a good thing. If oil drops to, below $60 a barrel, no United States companies anymore are going to be drilling, and then they're not going to increase that production because of that, because there's not enough money behind each barrel to make it worth it to them. So that's just another aspect that people, they talk about all this because they see that one little price at the gas pump, and they don't understand the implications of this nationally for us and how it is actually a good thing for it to be elevated just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, folks. Like, you need to realize under the Biden administration, oil got up to $133 a barrel. We saw the gas and the fuel prices under the Biden administration. We're nowhere near that. I'm going to look up the actual average current price under Trump versus Biden in just a second. But just like Jay said, I think the little bit of pain that we see at the pump because of all this, again, I have no problems with it. If we can take Iran out of the picture and we can destabilize their military to enough of they can no longer, number one, like having a nuclear weapon to me should be off the table. It shouldn't even be an option. And Trump has stated that. That's one of the reasons that I voted for him. I don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Number two, if we can actually affect their military where they're much less we diminish their operational capabilities in the Middle East. Like, we got so much stuff going on in the Middle East, like 90% of the problems come from Iran. It's just a fact. Between the Houthis, Hezbollah, all the problems that we have over there is either being directly or indirectly funded by Iran. And I think once we take them out, the world's going to be a safer place. And the last thing that I want is 5 years from now, 10 years, whatever it is, to where we are now having to engage a nuclear-armed Iran, and we will be in a much more long, drawn-out war than acting now. That's the way that I see it. I don't see any other option with that. Like, if you let Iran be able to wield the power of a nuclear weapon over the entire Middle East and Europe, much less if they continue, and once they get an actual nuclear weapon and they have that capabilities, we can't stop them from building ICBMs. They will be able to reach out and touch the United States. We already saw that there was a huge intelligence gap when it came to their missile capabilities. We thought they were, and they told us that, hey, their missiles can only go 2,500 kilometers. Well, come to find out, it's over 4,500 kilometers. And everybody missed that. The Israelis missed that. We missed that. I haven't heard that anywhere where, somehow we just, and the idea to me, look, if they have 400 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium tucked away, we actually have no idea how much they actually have. If they could have that same amount of 90% enriched uranium, I don't think we have really a clue what their true capabilities are and how advanced they actually are. So, like, we can't allow them to exist in their, and you know what? I would love to see a regime change. If that doesn't happen, fine. All right. But you're not getting a nuclear weapon, and hopefully you've learned your lesson, and hopefully in the future we'll have another strong president that if you start building a nuclear weapons program again, we're going to hit you with the exact same thing. We're going to reduce you to rubble, and you can start playing along with the rules of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you also, I think success, and again, regime change, again, that's a term that everyone uses in kind of like a negative way, just because it doesn't always work how you want it to. So because transition is, as you know, of the UW phases, transition is the hardest. Like that's the most volatile part, because you have a power vacuum. You're trying to guide who is best suited to take care of this situation, but ruthless people tend to take power when the chips are on the table and there's an opportunity for them to do so, but just out of sheer ruthlessness or just the ability or the willingness to do something terrible to gain that power.
Yeah.
So it makes it really hard from that standpoint. People ask, like, what do you see as a success out of this? I see the ultimate success out of this is if a new leadership comes in that opens up diplomatic relations with the West, just like Saudi, UAE, Qatar, all the, Jordan, Egypt, all these other Middle Eastern countries that have, even if we're not, like, I wouldn't call us necessarily super great allies with some of those countries, we're closer allies than with some than others, but we have diplomatic relations with all of them. We have embassies, we have consulates there. We have constant ongoing conversations with them to understand not only like what their expectations are, but so they understand what our expectations are, so on and so forth. That's the way the civilized world works. So if at the end of this, we have someone in power who, even if they're not the best person, like whether it's going to be the crown prince, whether it's going to be the Shah's whatever son, whatever it ends up being, that guy, like that doesn't really matter to me. And I would assume that hopefully it would be someone that would be accepted in the Middle East, and then would open up diplomatic relations. And that's a win right there. If that happens, and now we have an Iran who's no longer solely communicating with Russia and China, and then their terror proxies otherwise, then we're in a good place, right? And that stabilizes a whole region that has been destabilized now for a really long time. So.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I mean, we need to incentivize Iran. We need to get to a place where we can incentivize Iran to have good relationships with the United States, so that they aren't the last resort is now I have to turn to China or Russia or whoever else. I don't know if that'll happen, but again, what I think to me is the main objective, and I think it's very clear of the Trump administration as well, as nuclear weapons program is not an option. That's not going to happen. Yeah. Not when you're out there chanting death to America and you're the number one sponsor of state terrorism in the entire world. So it's not going to take place. Yeah, let me hit number one. Thank you very much, U-Haul, for gifting 1 Paramount Tactical membership. CJ Carenti gifting 10 Paramount Tactical memberships. Thank you very much. And folks, if you'd like to become a member and support the channel and support what we do, down in the description below is a link. If you'd like to become a member, you can join up that way. We got several tiers from a few dollars a month to more. Also, you can we offer subscriptions on X, same thing as a few bucks a month. And I guarantee you, Chase has subscriptions. So if you want to support his work on X, make sure you go over there and you do the exact same thing. When are you going to get a YouTube channel, Chase?
I got one, man. It's going right now.
Oh, yeah? Okay, great.
It's only got like 900 subscribers right now. We're getting there.
All right, folks, make sure you go. Well, what's your YouTube channel name?
Same GBNT 1952.
All right, you guys, make sure you guys go subscribe. We should at least be able to double those numbers before we get off here. So go subscribe to his channel and support him that way.
Hey, Gary.
Chase. Yes, ma'am.
President Trump is going to be addressing the nation in 10 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know if a couple people from the audience were suggesting a watch party.
Yeah. If we do that, we probably won't do a space tonight. But that's fine. It depends on how long that goes. It's already almost 9. I've never seen Trump give less than a 20-minute speech.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll do that. I think that's worth. That obviously ties right into what we're talking about tonight. So I think we'd be remiss not to.
Okay.
Chase,
Thanks.
where can they get that shirt? It's only
SnakeEatersandScholars.com.
SnakeEatersandScholars.com.
So Irregular Republic is my like everyday live, and then Snake Eaters and Scholars is going to be the podcast I'm trying to get going with the retired colonel that I used to work with, smartest dude I've ever met. But getting everything scheduled and getting everything going with that was the harder part. But these shirts are all it's all different quotes from like history and all kinds of stuff. So this is kind of my joke. There's actually an old World War II colonel that said something similar to this, but it's also close to the Monty Python, tis but a flesh wound. So that's kind of the joke on this. So you can go there. There's a few I have up there. I'm going to put more soon, but yeah, that's where you can get the shirt if you really want one.
Speaking of which, Jen, can you find us a link for that and get that posted down there, and we will have that ready to throw it. Jen, the producer, will knock it out. Wasn't Daily Mail a conservative news? They've gone back and forth. They're one of those just going back through their timeline. Like it goes back and forth. And again, I think conservatism, what is considered conservatism in the UK, is very different than what we consider it as well. So take that for what it's worth. Ashlyn Cherry, the end of last night's live had me crying real tears. I thought it was hilarious to see the scaling the roof like Spider-Man theory of Candace Owens followed by Gary's stairway footage. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen how easy it is to get on that roof, and you hear her constantly trying to characterize it as some like crazy thing, oh, he's climbing and scaling the rooftops like Spider-Man. It's ridiculous on his face, and it just shows. And it's not just her; it's all of her sycophants, it's all of her other surrogates, it's all of her ilk. They all do that. They exaggerate craziness, right, and try to paint things in a different light. Like that is what propagandists do, and then they completely kind of diminish and don't even show you so much. Candace Owens has never went through the charging documents. You don't know the truth if you're following her. You don't know the actual facts of this case, which all you got to do is go to X and see what people say all the time. Like they come up with the like, oh, you're telling me this happened. I'm like, I'm not telling you that happened, because there's no sane person that's actually following this case that has said that that's happened. And that's another thing. They keep saying that the state or the feds or however they want to characterize it have stated things that they've never said. So you guys see what's going on. All right, here's the question of the hour, Chase. Peanut butter on French toast, yes or no?
Yes. I mean, I don't know if you go back to the old chow hall days, basic training time. You get some good French toast or a waffle and spread peanut butter all over that and then syrup on top. And boy, you got your breakfast right there.
I'm thinking about that French toast. It was like the worst French toast of what they served in the chow halls. It was worse than what you'd find in like the frozen hours, like this gooey nonsense. But anyways, I'm kind of sold on it now, and we're gonna do it at some point. Bronson, we will do a full review of French toast. I actually have all the stuff up there, and I've been meaning to do it. I just always forget. Come showtime. We'll hit a couple live chats again, folks. If you want to get in a few more super chats, let us know. We will try to do that. You pleased, Bronson. Like that is his 100%. That's how he judges the character of a man, whether or not he will eat.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Toast, peanut butter. Peanut butter and banana sandwiches. I'm all about that. I've had that many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
I am all about that. Whatever the Elvis Presley sandwich was, it's like bacon. It's like a pound of bacon, peanut butter. I'm all about that. That sounds so freaking good. So I'm sure I will like French toast with peanut butter as well. Nutella.
I mean, Nutella's not bad, but just some good old-fashioned peanut butter, man.
Yeah, I'll go with I'm all about the peanut butter. I'm also all about the almond butter. I love almond butter on just about everything. Make sure while we're kind of in a little bit of a reprieve here, make sure you guys go follow Chase on all his socials. Give him a support. That's right.
Appreciate it.
That's right. Rage Bronson is a Freemason. You can't trust him. I agree with that. Jen, did you find us a link? I can look it up. I was just trying to keep you gainfully employed.
My center one on here.
Did you want the link to his YouTube? It's down in the description.
I'm sorry, to Trump's speech.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting that right now.
Okay. Apparently it's going to be live on The Hill, ABC News, PBS, Right Side Broadcast. I'm sure it's going to be on YouTube somewhere as well. So, Chase, what are some other things that people need to think about when it comes to Iran? Like, give your best sales pitch of why we need to continue to conduct military action in Iran.
The degradation of the ability for China and also Russia from a smaller scale, but China primarily to use Iran and Iran's proxies to strengthen their hold on what is now all the way through the Middle East, through Africa, through most of Africa. I mean, if you look at a trade, the trade scales from 2000 until now, where the United States dominated world trade in 2000, and now China dominates world trade, especially. That's one of the reasons is because of that. Again, Iran is using these proxies to create unrest in the Middle East, and that's not just just for the sake of creating unrest. There's always objectives behind it. And a lot of times those objectives line up with CCP initiatives, especially Belt and Road Initiative. If you've never looked into the Belt and Road Initiative, definitely give that a look. It's the Chinese Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road. It's all these different kind of variations. It's all the same plan. And it's really China's kind of like no restriction warfare plan to dominate the globe. And Iran is a big part of that for them. So all the other things aside, you can ignore the thousands of service members that they have killed. You can ignore the EFPs that they helped produce and then put into the field in Iraq, and a little bit in Afghanistan that killed a lot of our soldiers and destroyed a lot of our equipment and really gave, it changed the whole battlefield, and that was all Iranian stuff. So you can even ignore all of that as long as you understand that from a strategic perspective that they are a tool for the CCP, and then they in turn willed their proxies to do their will across the globe. Really, I mean, Hezbollah has had cells and a significant presence in Venezuela. So why do you think we hit Venezuela first, and now we're hitting Iran like this? So this is all chess, and it's chess that most people don't even understand. And we're knocking pieces off the board right now, and it's really in the pure competition between us, Russia, and China. So
yeah, no, great points. No, in my last tour in Iraq, 08, 09, our team was on the Iranian border in Iraq, and that's exactly what one of our primary missions was to monitor what was coming across. We knew exactly where the trade routes were, how they were smuggling in, the rat lines they were having. We're tracking EFPs coming across. We were literally watching ISR feeds every single night, where they were going, where they were storing those things, and then we would go and intercept those. So it was a real deal, and I still am like the amount of even during that time, especially once Obama came in. That tour was when Obama won the White House, and like the way that things changed operationally, he not long after he came in, he put in place the SOFA agreement. We went from being able to conduct missions to where, because of Obama, what he required us is to actually develop a mission, take it to an Iraqi judge, and then basically get a warrant to go conduct the operation. And we were like, no, like, you know how corrupt everybody is over there. And all you're going to do is you're going to give them a heads up, and you're going to walk into an ambush. You're going to walk into IEDs. It was unbelievable the way things changed, and it is what it is.
I'm gonna give you a little hypothetical of what could have happened to a team in Afghanistan that was doing period of darkness hits on high value targets, especially in the narco trade with the NIU over there. When this hypothetical team put up operation plans through and CONOPS through the Centrix and the U.S. systems, right?
Yeah.
Magically, there was never high value targets in those areas when we got there. That should have been there and had been there, for numerous sightings times before. So then certain reports started going up on Centrix that weren't necessarily mirrored to the exact reports that were coming up on the U.S. side, and all of a sudden we catching a ton of these high value targets. And then hypothetically that team got PP slapped and can no longer do the game that way and had to go back to the normal things. But I completely understand what you're saying. Their systems are corrupt, and working inside of those systems, especially when you have the scrutiny that our armed forces had in Afghanistan and Iraq, it makes it difficult to get the job done in the correct way, and it really hamstrings the effort. And then then it just becomes this protracted war with no clear center of gravity and no clear path to victory, I guess you could say.
And with our own basically self-imposed operational capacity, like they're not, again, my next tour was in Afghanistan, and it was the exact same thing. Like, we were hamstrung to the point where we were developing targets, developing intelligence, and then we were going to go act on that and prosecute and execute that operation, and we were denied time and time again for political reasons. Like, it's like, why am I here? And that was one of the reasons that led to me I ended up getting out, because I was very pissed off at the administration. But what I didn't do is I didn't decide that I was just going to quit and then go post my resignation to the president and undermine the president publicly as possible and schedule a podcast with Tucker Carlson.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Hey.
What,
that's one of the things. I like I said, I disagree with everything Joe Kent's saying now. I agreed with a lot of stuff he said before he did his little 180, but the main thing that I disagree with is the way that he resigned from that position, and just not only as a Green Beret, but also just as a man. Not everything is going to go the way you want it to go, and not everything is going to work out perfectly the way you thought it was going to work out. Life doesn't work that way. Business doesn't work that way. There's going to be some heartache. There's going to be some, especially if you're doing business with other people, there's going to be some times that it doesn't happen how you wanted it. And now there could be fights, or there could be whatever, but all that is between you and those people. Right. And you move on, and you can keep your own dignity and go on and do your things. But to go that way he did,
Guys, we're ready.
Sounds good. I agree. Everything you said was highly
It
unprofessional.
will be traveling further
Will you,
than
big
any manned
screen that for
rocket
us,
has ever
Tim?
flown, and will very substantially pass the moon, go around it, and come back home from a distance that has never been done before. It's amazing. They are on the way, and God bless them. These are brave people. We want to God bless those 4 unbelievable astronauts. As we speak this evening, it's been just 1 month since the United States military began Operation Epic Fury, targeting the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran. In these past 4 weeks, our armed forces have delivered swift, decisive, overwhelming victories on the battlefield. Victories like few people have ever seen before. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone. Their Air Force is in ruins. Their leaders, most of them terrorist regime they led, are now dead. Their command and control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is being decimated as we speak. Their ability to launch missiles and drones is dramatically curtailed, and their weapons, factories, and rocket launchers are being blown to pieces. Very few of them left. Never in the history of warfare has an enemy suffered such clear and devastating large-scale losses in a matter of weeks. Our enemies are losing, and America, as it has been for 5 years under my presidency, is winning, and now winning bigger than ever before. Before discussing this current situation, I also want to thank our troops for the masterful job they did in taking the country of Venezuela in a matter of minutes. That hit was quick, lethal, violent, and respected by everyone all over the world. After rebuilding our military during my first term, we have by far the strongest military anywhere in the world. And now we're working along with Venezuela and are, in a true sense, joint venture partners. We're getting along incredibly well in the production and sale of massive amounts of oil and gas, the second largest reserves on earth after the United States of America. We're now totally independent of the Middle East, and yet we are there to help. We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies. Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the blood just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel, something that most people have never seen anything like it. This murderous regime also recently killed 45,000 of their own people who were protesting in Iran. 45,000 dead. For these terrorists to have nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat. The most violent and thuggish regime on earth would be free to carry out their campaigns of terror, coercion, conquest, and mass murder from behind a nuclear shield. I will never let that happen, and neither should any of our past presidents. This situation has been going on for 47 years and should have been handled long before I arrived in office. I did many things during my 2 terms in office to stop the quest for nuclear weapons by Iran first, and perhaps most importantly, I killed General Qasem Soleimani in my first term. He was an evil genius, brilliant person, a horrible human being, however, the father of the roadside bomb, and he lived just horrible what he did. Iran would have been perhaps in far better, stronger position. Had he lived, we would have had probably a different conversation tonight. But you know what? We'd still be winning and winning big. And then very importantly, I terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash, took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. Flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran, and they would have had them years ago, and they would have used them. Would have been a different world. There would have been no Middle East and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts, had I not terminated that terrible deal. And I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them. My first preference was always the path of diplomacy, yet the regime continued their relentless quest for nuclear weapons and rejected every attempt at an agreement. For this reason, in June, I ordered a strike on Iran's key nuclear facilities, an Operation Midnight Hammer. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Those beautiful B-2 bombers performed magnificently. We totally obliterated those nuclear sites. The regime then sought to rebuild their nuclear program at a totally different location, making clear they had no intention of abandoning their pursuit of nuclear weapons. They were also rapidly building a vast stockpile of conventional ballistic missiles and would soon have had missiles that could reach the American homeland, Europe, and virtually any other place on earth. Iran's strategy was so obvious. They wanted to produce as many missiles as possible, and they did, with the longest range possible. And they had some weapons that nobody believed they had. We just learned that out. We took them out. We took them all out so that no one would really dare stop them. And their race for a nuclear bomb, a nuclear weapon like nobody's ever seen before. They were right at the doorstep. For years, everyone has said that Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, but in the end, those are just words if you're not willing to take action when the time comes. As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. That means eliminating Iran's Navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their Air Force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together, these actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it. And tonight, I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. As we celebrate this progress, we think especially of the 13 American warriors who have laid down their lives in this fight to prevent our children from ever having to face a nuclear Iran. Twice this past month, I have traveled to Dover Air Force Base, and it's been something. I wanted to be with those heroes as they return to American soil, and I was with them and their families, their parents, their wives, their husbands. We salute them, and now we must honor them by completing the mission for which they gave their lives. And every single one of the people, their loved ones said, "Please, sir, please finish the job," every one of them. And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. They've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form. Many Americans have been concerned to see the recent rise in gasoline prices here at home. This short-term increase has been entirely the result of the Iranian regime launching deranged terror attacks against commercial oil tankers in neighboring countries that have nothing to do with the conflict. This is yet more proof that Iran can never be trusted with nuclear weapons. They will use them, and they will use them quickly. It would lead to decades of extortion, economic pain, and instability worse than we can ever imagine. The United States has never been better prepared economically to confront this threat. You all know that. We built the strongest economy in history. We're going through it right now, the strongest in history. In 1 year, we've taken a dead and crippled country. I hate to say that, but we were a dead and crippled country after the last administration and made it the hottest country anywhere in the world by far, with no inflation, record-setting investments coming into the United States, over $18 trillion, and the highest stock market ever, with 53 all-time record highs in just 1 year. It all positioned us to get rid of a cancer that has long simmered. It's known as the nuclear Iran, and they didn't know what was coming. They've never imagined it. Remember, because of our Drill Baby Drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet, without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily. We will be helpful, but they should take the lead in protecting the oil that they so desperately depend on. So to those countries that can't get fuel, many of which refuse to get involved in the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. #1, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And #2, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy. And in any event, when this conflict is over, the Strait will open up naturally. It'll just open up naturally. They're going to want to be able to sell oil because that's all they have to try and rebuild. It will resume the flowing, and the gas prices will rapidly come back down. Stock prices will rapidly go back up. They haven't come down very much, frankly. They came down a little bit, but they've had some very good days over the last couple of days. We've done actually much better than I thought, but we had to take that little journey to Iran to get rid of this horrible threat. With our historic tax cuts, where people are just now talking about receiving larger refunds than they ever thought possible. They are getting so much more money than they thought. That's from the great big beautiful bill. Our economy is strong and improving by the day, and it will soon be roaring back like never before. It will top the levels that it was a month ago. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead. The new group is less radical and much more reasonable. Yet if during this period of time no deal is made, we have our eyes on key targets. If there is no deal, we are going to hit each and every one of their electric generating plants very hard and probably simultaneously. We have not hit their oil, even though that's the easiest target of all, because it would not give them even a small chance of survival or rebuilding. But we could hit it, and it would be gone, and there's not a thing they could do about it. They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable as a military force. The nuclear sites that we obliterated with the B-2 bombers have been hit so hard that it would take months to get near the nuclear dust, and we have it under intense satellite surveillance and control. If we see them make a move, even a move for it, we'll hit them with missiles very hard again. We have all the cards, they have none. It's very important that we keep this conflict in perspective. American involvement in World War I lasted 1 year, 7 months, and 5 days. World War II lasted for 3 years, 8 months, and 25 days. The Korean War lasted for 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days. The Vietnam War lasted for 19 years, 5 months, and 29 days. Iraq went on for 8 years, 8 months, and 28 days. We are in this military operation, so powerful, so brilliant, against one of the most powerful countries for 32 days. And the country has been eviscerated and essentially is really no longer a threat. They were the bully of the Middle East, but they're the bully no longer. This is a true investment in your children and your grandchildren's future. The whole world is watching, and they can't leave the power, strength, and brilliance. They just can't believe what they're seeing. They leave it to your imagination, but they can't believe what they're seeing, the brilliance of the United States military. Tonight, every American can look forward to a day when we are finally free from the wickedness of Iranian aggression and the specter of nuclear blackmail. Because of the actions we have taken, we are on the cusp of ending Iran's sinister threat to America and the world. And I'll tell you, the world is watching. And when we do, when it's all over, the United States will be safer, stronger, more prosperous, and greater than it has ever been before. May God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, and good night.
What, 20 minutes?
Yeah. Hold on. Wrong view there. So I don't know. I was expecting a little bit more information than that. I mean, he laid out the fact why we are, prosecuting this war, and I think all that makes sense. What we didn't, I thought we were going to kind of hear like, okay, here's our future plan. So I'm going to give him a little criticism on that. But just like everybody else says over there, I trust this president. I think he's doing the best he can to make sure that we are acting in the best interest of this country. And I think we are currently. I don't know. What was your take, Chase?
Yeah, I mean, a little light on detail. It's actually really nothing that he hasn't already said before in just some of his normal little answering questions to reporters that he does. But they have been very clear of what the goals are for this war, and they've iterated those goals numerous times. They will never have a nuclear weapon. They'll no longer be able to push their proxy forces in the Middle East, so on and so forth. And so I think they're reiterating that. But the key, he did say there has been regime change. He said that like clear cut words. They're they're talking with this new regime. Now, does this mean that it's exactly the regime change we want? I don't know, but I think you're right. You have to have faith in 32 days now. Really, this and Iran is what we considered. And correct me if I'm wrong, but through all the preparation that I went through, and when we had our intel briefs on Iran, they're a near peer, if not close to peer competitor. They have 5th generation aircraft. They have a lot of things, and they had a lot of surface to air that China gave them. They had a lot of things that were supposed to make them either near peer or almost peer, however you want to say it.
I think in very limited quantities, and I'm not sure if it's really near peer, but I hear what you're saying, and we do know the reports of those.
They're far more competent than Iraq or Afghanistan's fighting forces. Let's put it that way.
For sure.
Yeah, so 32 days to what Trump is now announcing is a regime change, or at least people that are in power now are more willing to come to the table and talk. I mean, I think that's a good start. Again, success here looks like the people of Iran get their freedom, but more importantly, the Iran rejoins the world stage in communication with the West and in diplomatic efforts with the West. I think that's the ultimate goal here.
Yeah, let me remind everybody. Trump laid out 4 objectives for this war. Or this military action, without getting into semantics. But anyways, destroy Iran's ballistic missile capabilities, number 1. Annihilate or destroy Iran's navy. Check, got that done. Ensure Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. That's still in the progress. Neutralize or end Iran's support for terrorist proxies. And then additional or expanded objectives. There's one more, and that's protect U.S. Middle Eastern allies at the highest level. So that's what his objectives are. And they were very clear cut at the beginning of this. We're still in the middle of making sure that those happen. I mean, he's completely destroyed all of their naval forces. I thought it was pretty funny when he was talking about that. He's like, you know what? We should have just kept them. And then, the general's like, yeah, it's a lot more fun to shoot them. Sink them to the ocean. So agreed on that point. I would think it would be quite the flex if we just like boarded some of their ships, took them over, repainted them with some an American flag, and I don't know, turn them into cruise ships or fishing boats or something like that. So, I think that's pretty funny. Look, I hope there's plans to at least arm the Iranians, obviously not the IRGC, but the actual people in the population. So that we can give them the means to which to overthrow their country and overthrow this despotic, homicidal, suicidal regime. I mean, we saw that the reports are somewhere between 10 and 40,000 people killed during the protests. Whatever it is, it's far too many. It's pretty insane. And one of the things I'm constantly posting every time I see that they are getting ready to execute another person, some of these athletes, I'm still wondering what's going to end up happening with the female soccer players.
Yep.
I mean, a country like Iran in the 21st century shouldn't exist. I mean, that is a medieval country that happens to have modern weapons, and they got no place. They got no place in current times or society. Period. In my opinion. You guys tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think, again, I think if a regime comes in, and we don't have to agree with that regime, it doesn't have to be a full blown democracy. I mean, Qatar is a Islamic monarchy, and we're, and I've been very critical of the relationship that we have with Qatar, but I don't think it's necessarily a negative relationship. I think we just have to be wary that, when we have allies like Qatar, we have allies like Saudi, we have allies like Turkey, right? Their allegiance doesn't really lie with us. It just lies with us being on the same kind of plane and the same, the parallels that we're drawing right now. So, use them for what they are, but we have to be cautious about them at the same time.
Well, that's one of the benefits of being the world superpower, is that it's always more beneficial to get along with us. And again, whether you're talking about the doomers, the globalists, or whatever else, that's what they want to do. They want to diminish American might and strength throughout the world and influence throughout the world. And all of these benefits that we currently enjoy, being the world superpower and being genuinely a force for good, even though that everybody tries to paint America as some evil, there's never been another country with as much power as we have that has done more good throughout the world. We make mistakes. Look, we have corrupt politicians. We have corruption to some extent throughout, but there's never been a country that is genuinely as good, as doing as much good as we do throughout the world at our expense. Like, I wish we'd do a little less good when it comes to, putting out, spending billions of dollars in other countries for some of these boondoggles.
Right.
But man, that's just a fact, and people hate it. Dr. Altoy says he didn't say anything he hadn't said or written before. I read the message was intended to calm the market and facilitate the beginning of a bounce back, but I didn't see that either. Thoughts? Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more detail. I agree. These are like, if he's stood in front of his airplane getting ready to go on Air Force One, and he basically said the same thing that he normally says. I don't know. I would have liked something more, but that's what we get tonight. So it is what it is.
I think it's also enough. I mean, not everyone watches the little questionnaires he gets here and there. They might see a clip of something from that somebody else posts, or the people that watch the mainstream media like on a daily basis, maybe they're seeing some of that, but a lot of people haven't seen that exact message. There's a lot of people that don't even know what they're trying to accomplish with this war. They have no idea that that's even a thing. They're like, why are we even there? And I'm like, well, they've said it numerous times while we're there. You just have to actually go look for it. So from that standpoint, I mean, yeah, we didn't get anything new or novel, but I do think that this, he set this speech up so that everyone is going to see it because all the networks are going to run it. And he didn't have to do anything new or novel. It's just getting this like, hey, trust the course. We're actually winning. It's been 32 days. It hasn't been that long. You're acting like it's been 8 years. It hasn't been 8 years. It's been 32 days. And we're already in a victory formation here, and just help us see it through, kind of. So I don't hate the messaging. I do agree. I wish there was a little bit more, but
yeah.
Could be worse.
Truth Matter says, let's be clear. You can't be aggressive in the Iran front, but soft on domestic front with zero arrests and a failing economy. Well, we don't have a failing economy by any measure. Again, this is this doomerism that I just don't get. If you go look at our economy, what it is now with interest rates, with inflation, we're doing much better than we were under Biden. So, I'm just going to disagree with literally every premise you have right there. Truth Matters. So,
yeah, that's another thing they've been pushing, is that they're like, our economy's terrible. You're like, well, how? I mean, gas went up just a little bit during this 30-day conflict, but it hasn't skyrocketed. It hasn't went up to like levels that we haven't seen before. Inflation is also a reaction, like it lags behind. So we're going to catch some of the inflation from the Biden administration and things that happen there too. So like he's 14 months into the presidency, 15, whatever we're at now. Like,
yeah.
Relax, everybody.
Exactly. Smash says, I love the fact that this was a play to get countries to buy oil from the U.S. That is a great, that is a great point.
Yeah.
He was up there selling.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
No, that's actually a really good point. Greenwich, I believe the Kurds will help arm the people when the time is right. Maybe. Look, I do know that there are efforts where we have special operations up north that are organizing the Kurds. I think I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Goldie. Somebody from on the Iranian front, they pushed back hard. I think it was Goldie. It doesn't sound like the Iranian people want the Kurds. Doesn't mean that we won't use them as like an expeditionary force to go do certain things. But I think it sounds like from the Iranians, they're very apprehensive and skeptical and or just suspicious of the Kurds. And look, one of the things that I think people need to realize is everyone thinks like, especially soldiers, and I think generally it's kind of true, but not everybody thinks that the Kurds are all great, right? And they have their own problems when it comes to corruption, kind of totalitarianism. With that being said, they have been a great ally with us in the U.S. It doesn't mean that they're just some, benevolent, all great group of people. They are great, and all the Kurds I've worked with have been great, but not everybody.
They're not monolithic, right? So it's just like you can't claim that like there's Jews that are atheists, there's Jews that are far left, there's Jews that are more on the right. Like it's just they're not monolithic. They don't believe the same thing. Not all Kurds believe the same thing. Is in fact one of the reasons that a lot of the Iranian people are kind of nervous about the Kurds is because the MEK, which is the Marxist kind of Marxist Islamic movement within the Kurds, was part of what helped the '79 revolution. They ended up taking a lot of casualties after the fact because when the regime won, they kind of kicked out all the Marxists. They didn't want to have to compete against them anymore, so they exiled, they jailed, or they executed some of them. But there's a I don't even want to say a significant portion. There's just a portion of the Kurds that do follow MEK and kind of believe that same kind of mindset. And so that's one of the reasons they're skeptical about it, is because of a powerful movement within the Kurds is Marxism. So,
yeah, no, couldn't agree more. Well, Chase, you got any other final comments about anything that we covered tonight?
No, just keep your heads about you. When you see information, look at it from a strategic standpoint. Who does this information benefit? And what are the possibilities that come along with this? And then just do your own little research into it. You don't have to spend hours on it. But if someone says something on X or someone says something on YouTube and you're like, I don't know about that, go look it up. Look it up from multiple sources, try to find the primary, and then be like, oh, I don't think that that's actually true. If you just do that, all of a sudden your eyes are going to open to all these things these people are saying, and you're going to see how they're slanting things and they're taking a little tidbit of truth and then they're making it crazy. One of the things I always go back to is Alex Jones talking about the gay frogs, right? And everyone's like, well, he was right about that. He wasn't. They weren't making the frogs gay, right? There was chemicals being released into the water that were making these frogs have these hormones. It was actually changing their whole sex because they had these weird hormones things. They weren't actually becoming gay, right? But what he did was he took this tiny little aspect of what was true and he used it to push it in this way, in this narrative that got him clicks and notoriety and all these other things. So they do this all the time. You just have to look for it. And once you see it and you start seeing it, you're going to see it all the time and you're not going to be fooled anymore. So I'll just leave it at that.
It always starts with a little bit of truth, folks. They're going to confirm the non-material elements of the story and get you buying into it, and then they smuggle in the BS. That's what they do every time. It's just the standard tactic for con artists, disinformation agents, psyops, you name it. So you guys need to have some cognitive security, and and I know most of the audience that we have does. You guys are smart, you're intelligent, you're not buying into the BS, and I love you for it. I say it all the time. I'd rather have 5 of you guys than 1 million of some of these other followers. 100%. Doesn't matter. Listen, Chase, we really appreciate you coming on tonight. Folks, I will push the X Space. We'll do that tomorrow. All right, we're gonna do that tomorrow. Jen, who do we have on tomorrow? I know we have someone.
I don't have anybody unless you have someone.
You're gonna be on tomorrow.
I have Gray coming on Sunday.
Okay.
And possibly Monday. Yes.
Sweet. All right.
And I have 2 potentials for tomorrow night, but we'll see.
We might take tomorrow night off. We'll let you know early in the day. We're going to start. Jen and I have been talking about. We're going to try to get everything posted 24 hours ahead of time, but sometimes that's just not possible. With that being said, at least give you guys several hours notice. By 3 p.m. at the latest, we'll have a decision made in enough time, and then make sure that we have something posted so that you're not wondering if we're going to have a show or not. But I will announce tomorrow whether or not we're going to have a show by 3 p.m. And then if we are going to have a show, we'll make sure to let you know what that topic is, if we have somebody on, and what time that we're going to do that. It's usually going to be between 7 and 8. You guys know the deal. You guys have been following us long enough. Let me just glance one more time, make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Nope, didn't. Listen, we appreciate you guys so much. Chase, thank you for coming on. Let's do this more often. Anything that we can do to help promote your channel, you let me know. We'll make sure that we do that. And until next time, folks, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.